Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 Board of Education regular board meeting. We'll call this meeting open at 4:38, and we have public comment for closed session items.
We do. Moni DeWitt, Michelle Voigt, and Todd Voigt. Moni?
Welcome.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak here. So, yeah, regarding the superintendent, I just want to say a few things. Is that I think the culture here could, and since our superintendent is our leader, I think it should be much more focused on bottom up, because I've been here in the district for many, many years, but our vulnerable students are still struggling. And I sometimes think it's more top down, like the Me Too raise that was given, and the next one, 5%. I found that to be, even though it was a tradition of some sort, I found it to be kind of self-serving when we have students who have IEPs and don't have the supports they need. They don't have paras, and we have a revolving door of some staff. And when the staff leaves so often, the relationships aren't strong enough for these students, especially the ones who are behind, to get that comfortable feeling with the teacher and to move forward and make more progress. So I think I have noticed too that, and this does really trouble me, but being in LCAP and having discussions one time with our superintendent, last year's LCAP, I did raise that, like, what are we doing for La Cuesta? Because La Cuesta just chronically has low scores. It used to, even before the pandemic, had 8% English and 0 math. And I see the attitude of those students. People think they're troublemakers, which they really aren't. I've actually met several of them personally and have helped some of them years gone by who had reading problems. And I just want to say, when I did bring this up to the superintendent, I was told that, and she said to me directly, she said, well, those students are on a different journey, and I can't help everybody, and I have 6,000 other high school students to take care of. And, I just feel like different journey. That means socioeconomic hardship. That means they're teenagers, and life sometimes can throw you more than you can deal with, especially if your parents don't have resources, which, as you know, high child poverty rate. So I'm really troubled with that attitude. The kind of attitude I want to hear and see is, no, these are our students who need the most help, and I'm not getting that. I just feel like people assume that students who are neurodiverse, as well as some of our English language learners, that they just can't do better. But they can. And I've seen it when they're in other environments, when they're in private schools, even at Cold Springs. Granted, they have more resources, but their neurodiverse students, it's 100% English and 100% math, even higher than their overall population, because some of the others bring it down. Anyway, we need an attitude that should be different from our leader. Thank you.
Good evening. I speak today out of a growing concern about the direction of our district, how leadership performance is being evaluated during a time of shrinking resources and shrinking trust. While student enrollment in Santa Barbara Unified continues to decline, the number of top cabinet administrators and their total compensation continues to grow. Not a single cabinet member has received a RIF, yet 85 teachers have. High school graduation requirements are cut, and classes are being reduced and doing with less. We've added a chief operational officer, a position that's never existed before, a role created over COVID response circumstances, a position alone that could save a multiple of teaching jobs. The very teaching jobs that receive RIFs due to the expiration of COVID funding. Let's be clear, this is not a budgeting issue. It's a leadership and accountability issue. The board should be evaluating the superintendent's performance, not just based on contracts or compliance, but on alignment with community values and educational outcomes. And I urge you to consider the following in that evaluation. Conduct a district-wide survey of students, parents, and teachers on satisfaction with district priorities, transparency, and leadership. Compare administrative costs per student with other districts, including Los Angeles Unified, where top leadership spends amounts of just $7 per student, while Santa Barbara Unified is nearly $130 per student. Set high standards, don't lower them. Responding to a crisis by cutting high school graduation requirements while expanding top-level administration doesn't send the wrong message. It undermines academic integrity, cheapens the value of a diploma, and fails our students when they need rigor and relevance the most. This isn't about budgets, it's about values, it's about trust, it's about performance. The superintendent's job is not to just manage finances. It's to lead with vision, integrity, and results. So here's what I believe should be part of that performance evaluation. Has the size and the cost of central administration grown while enrollment has declined?
30 seconds.
Yes. Has student, parent, and teachers expressed rising dissatisfaction with district priorities? Yes. Are education outcomes improving? Is morale improving? Are we losing trust and transparency at each board meeting? Are arts, music, core programs being questioned, cuts, while administrators are insulated from consequences? Are bloated administrations in a shrinking district? It's not leadership, it's misalignment, and it needs to be addressed. In the
Time is
private
finished.
sector, when results don't match
Thank
investment,
you. Your time is up.
we expect change. Thank you.
Thank you. And Todd Voigt.
All right, thank you all. So, obviously the husband of Michelle is very articulate and wicked smart and very passionate, and I share her passion for this. And, you know, I'm just a business guy, and when I look at these numbers, I think there's a confusion by the superintendent. You think this is a growth company. It's not. So, our students are down 1,500 just from 5 years. That's 11% down. Our teachers, we've cut 8%, so they've been suffering it. And yet the superintendent and all of your executives keep on jacking up your pay. You're not a growth company, and your shareholders, your constituents are us, the students, and the teachers. And yet your response for the issue we're in is to keep paying yourself more and then fire the teachers. It doesn't make any sense. There's a lack of, I think, understanding and compassion and understanding what your true job is. And from that perspective, I think it's wrong, it's immoral, I think it's a major problem. And I would hope the board will look at this, because you're her boss, and you're the executive's boss. The executive board is the administrative board's boss. Let's look at how much money they're making. So their compensation's up $2 million in the last 5 years, right? They're up like 11% when the population is down 11, and the teachers have already been fired, down 8%, down 54 teachers. How is that fair and equitable? Again, you're not a growth stock. What you manage is shrinking, and yet you keep taking more and more and more. The CEO keeps on taking more and more and more. The CTO, it goes on and on and on. It doesn't make any sense. If you were a stock, we would be shorting you. We would not want to own your stock because you're taking all the money, and your excuse is then you take it away from the teachers and the students. The response is, okay, we're just going to provide less service to our constituency, which is our students. It makes no sense. It's immoral. It's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last public comment. We will now go to closed session. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 8th, 2025 regular board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 5:41 p.m. We have language access. Welcome.
Thank you. We have Spanish interpretation and also ASL interpretation through Zoom. If anybody would like to listen to the interpretation into Spanish or see the ASL interpretation, Buenas tardes, tenemos interpretación al español disponible por medio de Zoom y aquí en persona. Si alguien gusta escuchar la reunión en español, tenemos ese servicio disponible. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Maldonado, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please stand and face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one announcement from closed session. In closed session, the board took action to approve the March 27, 2025 final settlement agreement and general release between parents and district and student versus Santa Barbara Unified School District Special Education Due Process Case OAH case number 2025-010307, pursuant to which the district has agreed to fund and provide educational services to the student, and the student's parents have agreed to release claims against the district in exchange for educational services as specified in the agreement. The vote was unanimous. 4 voted in favor. And yes, absolutely. Yes.
Good evening. I'm going to just announce our student performance. As we know, we always start with a student performance in our meetings. I want to welcome the Santa Barbara High School Theater Department, and they're going to be performing from Hadestown, and I'll say a little bit more about that after they finish their performance. Welcome. Can we give them a nice warm welcome?
If you don't support the arts, you're failing our students. How can you prepare us for a world that's yet to be created if we don't have any access to creativity? I really hope the adults in charge of our future don't fail us.
I do want to thank them for being here. I want to thank their teacher, Jory Mikersey, for being here. And we will announce that there's play, Hadestown, will begin April 25th and going on until May 3rd. These are evening plays except for Saturday, April 26th at 1 or 7. The rest of the shows are at 7 p.m. Thank you so much for preparing our students and for all that you do. Thank you. We'll continue with my board report if you want to go back to the student board report.
Sure, we'll start
Thank
with you
you.
and then we'll go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending and continuing to share your message with the board. I want to highlight Santa Barbara High School recently organized a walkout in protest of the ongoing ICE raids in support for community members who continue to be directly impacted, as well as community members coming together to rally near the beach. And as students just performed and I think got the message across that the concern regarding student programs is still very much there, and we'll continue to have discussions with each other respectfully, I hope. We had a week off of spring break, allowing students to catch up on assignments and take some time off before we finish our third quarter of the year as we enter the last term of the school year. We're approaching our second to last Student Advisory Council meeting. Last meeting we had discussions addressing student concerns and helping better understand our site's election process, environment, and talking about past and future initiatives. Santa Barbara High School has officially announced their upcoming talent show, Dawn's Golden Spotlight. I'm really excited for this upcoming event and encourage everyone to attend and support the talent that students will showcase. I was also able to attend one of the many jogathons in the elementary level. I was in attendance of the Santa Barbara Community Academy jogathon and was able to encourage and support students as they jogged. Lastly, in celebration and support of the LGBTQ community, San Marcos celebrated Pride Week, where students participated by dressing on theme, showing their support for the Pride community. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll go to Dr. Maldonado for the superintendent report.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. We're going to just jump to the next item for my report today. As you know, we received a letter from our Superintendent of California, Tony Thurmond, recognizing Washington Elementary, and here is a picture of the amazing principal, Ariel Curry, and her staff, her teachers and staff. Schools that are selected for California Distinguished School status are selected by the state, not by us. They do this by analyzing their data on the 2024 dashboard with a focus on we're looking for schools with a focus on demonstrating excellence and growth in academic achievement and ensuring a positive school climate. Schools can also be recognized for exceptional student performance qualified based on achieving exemplary performance in English language, arts, and math, while also demonstrating strong student engagement and positive school climate. We want to congratulate Principal Curry, her staff, the parents, the students, and everybody that made this happen. They will be going to Disneyland for an actual award ceremony to receive their recognition. The next, let me just make sure I have this correct. I did want to bring the board a quick update. We are in a place now where we can begin to set up a priority system. You have a sheet in front of you. As we get closer to now finalize the land sale, or what's called the Tatum deal, over by San Marcos High School. You can see here the proposed language that we are finalizing with Red Tail developers. The deal is expected to be signed off April 24th. And I'm sharing this with the board both because I know there's been questions about how Priority will be working when it comes to actual housing for employees, but also because now that we're finalizing that land sale, we will be able to turn our focus to the development of the armory. I will be selecting a company to help us with doing the stakeholder outreach to really hear from our community what would be the best use of the armory land. That bond that passed designated the money for CTE, Career Tech Education Programs, but with getting accurate input, we'll figure out what that will be like. So this document, again, outlines the resident selection criteria. You can see that we are, Tier 1 is that we will basically, well, the whole deal is that 95 units will be devoted to employees of the Santa Barbara School District. The company will still be paying us the agreed to amount, which is $17 million. And this just basically lays out the process that we will be using. Next item. I want to also take a moment to recognize the final cohort graduation for the New Leaders Institute. These are new leaders to their jobs as administrators. There were 4 sessions that focused on leadership skills and abilities, including but not limited to technical and adaptive challenges and strategies, leading people to change behaviors, holding accountability, the importance of aligned, transparent communication, different levels of the organization for information gathering and decision making, our multi-tiered system of support framework. They were also looking at things like person-role system and boundaries of authority, roles, and task frameworks. I want to thank Dr. Becchio, Assistant Superintendent Kenya Edison for planning and facilitating this first cohort of New Leaders Institute. Next, I want to thank Denise Alvarado for informing me of this great event that's going across our elementary schools. During the month of April, each elementary school is hosting a vibrant Spring Garden family event. Students in the AOK After School program will take the lead, guiding their families through the school garden and proudly sharing what they've been learning throughout the year. Families can enjoy hands-on activities at interactive stations, sample fresh produce harvested from the garden, and soak in the beauty of the season, all in a relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere. These events are a wonderful way to bring families together and create meaningful connections between home, school, and the learning experiences that are blooming in our gardens. While that is happening, I do want to also let the board know that students are beginning their CASP state testing, advanced placement testing, so we want to send a lot of well wishes to the students who are also working on that. The next one is McKinley Elementary. I did get this from their PTA Vice President, Mayra Oseguera. She texted me over the weekend. They held an event to raise money for their school. Their goal was $20,000, and the principal shared with me they actually exceeded their goal even beyond the number you see here. This money will go to classroom and field trips, and the fundraiser is open until the end of the week, so please contact the principal if you're interested in donating to their school. With that, I'd like to end with a video of our report as we have been ending lately with our Classroom Champion features. And this today we're featuring from Santa Barbara Junior High, our very own teacher, Mr. Kareem Battle.
I've wanted to be a teacher since I was probably 8 years old. It's been my dream. Like a lot of people want to be in the NBA or be the president. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a teacher.
What we're going to do today is we're going to actually do the same thing that you guys got on your first day in this class. You're going to write a letter to next term students. I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to let you start writing.
Something that's unique about how I approach teaching Avid, I constantly let the students kind of guide how we're going to learn. So if they come up with something that is a more efficient way of getting information, then I use that, and I give them credit all the time. It's very malleable and bendy. I always try to change how I'm going to teach.
These people coming in have never been in this classroom, and most of them have never met. So how we can help them to make it easier for them, the process that they're going to have that you just experienced.
The implementation of Avid is essential for the students' learning. Basically what we do is we build a familial bond in our classroom, and then we acquire skills that we use in all other classes.
No, that is not correct. A. The A. The A.
they said V.
I was just because he didn't. Advanced. What's the B in average? What is it?
I love when students brag about their grades, and every time they brag to me, I always ask them if they're proud of themselves. And I love when students talk about how proud they are of themselves. Like, it's one thing for me, or their teachers, or their parents, but really I want it to be intrinsic. So when they tell me, I always immediately ask, are you proud of yourself? And they go, yes, and I go, that's all that matters. Great, good for you. So I'm always thankful and happy that they're proud of themselves. Because if they do that, then they'll be lifelong learners, which is the ultimate goal.
Hey, remember practicing writing. It's a literacy skill. So you can say like,
This year, all my Avid 8 students are signing for a Spanish class at Santa Barbara City College to get them ahead. And I'm also signing up for the same class to take with them. And I told my kids, I said, this is the year I'm gonna take it with you all. And they're like, no way. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna take the class. I've got to get better. It's a weakness with the families we have. I should have done this long ago. But this is something I'm going to work on for the rest of my career to become better so I can communicate with the families as well as the students on our campus.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have public comment for non-agenda items. We have a number of public comments for non-agenda items, so we are going to do 2 minutes for your public comments. And we are going to close public comment for non-agenda items at 6:10. That's in 11 minutes.
All right. Our first speakers on public comment, Natalie Alvarez, student, Deborah Reed, followed by Carolyn Abate. Is Natalie here? Yeah. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natalie Alvarez. I'm a sophomore at Santa Barbara High School. I would like to talk about two of our most favorite teachers on campus, Mr. Nava and Ms. Hernandez. Ms. Hernandez is the most sweetest and kindest soul I have ever met at our school, who always allows students to feel welcome and want to show up. Mr. Nava is such a funny and supporting teacher who has a great understanding of what he teaches and has a great sense of humor that makes his classes fun and engaging. Students who have Mr. Nava and Ms. Hernandez are always early to class because they are looking forward to having them. Although it is only their first year, they have made such a big impact on every single one of their students, and they even have students that are looking forward to having them next year. By taking them away, you are not giving these students the chance to have these amazing teachers. Me and my friend created a petition and have gathered over 200 signatures from students, community members, staff at our school, and the students didn't even hesitate to sign it. School is supposed to be a place where students feel like they belong and that they are supported while also being challenged. Mr. Nava and Ms. Hernandez embody this. Not only do they create welcoming classrooms where students feel like they can succeed, but they also represent us and the community. Both of them are Latino SPHS alumni who grew up in the same community that majority of the students come from. They give us, as students, someone to look up to. Both of them came from the same place their students come from and help us believe that we can achieve the same, if not more than what they have. Please save the math and English teachers.
Thank you. Deborah Reed, Carolyn Abate, and Barbara Ireland.
Since I only have 2 minutes and the students have already, the young adults have already said pretty much everything that I'm going to say, I just want to add that I'm confused. I'm confused because every time I come here, we're spotlighting students, we're spotlighting their art, we're spotlighting their music, we're spotlighting their creativity. And it appears by that action that the district holds the arts in high esteem. So what confuses me is if we care enough to highlight them and celebrate the arts, why we are slowly eradicating these programs from our schools. It makes no sense to me why we think that something is a valuable part of the educational experience we want to get rid of. I'm also confused about the schedules and the discussions that we've had about reducing our students' instructional minutes by 25% next year for some of our students. I have students who are failing their classes this year and being asked to attend summer school in order to make those units up. And then they're being told that next year they will only need to take 75% of their educational day because somehow miraculously we found some magic pixie dust to sprinkle over them, and they'll come back with less educational minutes next year and somehow make greater advancements. So please provide the community with evidence-based arguments supporting the benefits of reducing student access to instructional minutes. Please provide the community with evidence-based arguments explaining why the arts should only be available to some students in our district. Please retain the teachers so that we have enough staff to offer a full day of instruction. And please make the students a priority by following through on the commitment to educate all of the children in our community.
Thank you. Carolyn Abate, Barbara Ireland, followed by Rosalie Hardwine.
Good evening. This presentation is regarding School Board Bylaw Proposal 9223 Meeting Conduct, Item H2 from the February 11th Board Meeting, reducing public comment time from 3 minutes down to 2 minutes. Everyone, Democrat or Republican, values their freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is a cornerstone of democratic government, and public comment is a time when we exercise our freedom of speech, our most cherished, constitutionally guaranteed right. Reducing public comment time takes away not only from a person's right to speak, but it also takes away from the public's right to hear. For example, people are naturally curious and they want to know what other people are thinking or someone else's critique of an issue or their analysis of the best way forward to solve a problem. In addition, public comment, the public aspect of public comment, is extremely important. It shows transparency and honesty because public comment is oftentimes the way people find out about issues going on in the schools and hear ideas and perspectives they may have never before realized. Public comment plays a vital role. However, understandably, there needs to be time constraints. It is unreasonable for board members and the public to have to attend meetings that continue on late into the night, as was the case at a recent school board meeting.
20 seconds.
If some items need to be cut, consider the true role of a functioning school board and prioritize the most critically important agenda items first. Perhaps there could be another meeting at a different time for agenda items such as employee recognition or student and school board member reports. This way, the meetings would not run so long. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Barbara Ireland, followed by Rosalie Hardwine and Lisa O'Shea.
Good evening. This presentation is regarding Board Bylaw 9223, Meeting Conduct. Item H2 from the February 11th Board Meeting, proposal reducing public comment from 3 minutes down to 2 minutes for all speakers. Being a member of the school board is a huge responsibility. Our Santa Barbara Unified Schools are dealing with many very serious and controversial issues. For example, bullying and other inappropriate behavior that is occurring within our schools, controversial curriculums, and the consequences of teaching certain ideas to our students, low math and English test proficiency scores, truancy, suicide among young people, COVID learning loss, and budget and funding issues. All of these issues are overwhelming and too much for just 5 people. School board members need to have help in the form of public comment, which is input from community members, parents, and your constituents. Public comment is a vital part of your ability to arrive at the best decisions and to find solutions. Please do not limit or reduce public comment time in any way, because the truth is nobody knows everything, and we need each other to work together, respectfully sharing good, useful, and beneficial ideas to help solve this very serious and important issues in our schools. Only by carefully listening to other perspectives can you do your job of thoughtfully and thoroughly analyzing all aspects of these complex issues and arriving at the best solution. Public comment is a tool to assist you. It is very valuable and, of course, should always be spoken politely with logical common sense and helpful content. Again, please do not limit or reduce public comment time in any way. 3 minutes is barely enough time to develop an idea and explain the logic or point of analysis.
Time is up.
In conclusion, please always remember, members of the school board and of the public, parents and voters, we are all on the same team. We have a common goal, the best interest of our students and their mental, emotional, and academic health and well-being.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosalie Hardwin, Lisa O'Shea, followed by Rich Lashua.
Good evening, school board members. I'm here this evening to discuss the agenda item H2 from the February 11th school board meeting regarding public comment. As per the Brown Act, the people of California do not yield our sovereignty to the agencies that serve them, namely Government Code Section 54950. I understand that this school board is considering implementing a change in time for our public comments, for all agenda items and public comment in general, from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. This change in policy is detrimental to our First Amendment rights of all citizens to express freely their viewpoint with sufficient time given to cover their ideas comprehensively. I understand that this change from 3 to 2 minutes would even apply when there are only a few public comments and only a few agenda item comments for that particular meeting. I can understand if there are dozens of public comments on a particular agenda item or topic that the time would be cut to 2 minutes. But if there are only a few public comments and the same 2 minutes is allocated, I think that is a disservice to the people in our city, so as to not give them their First Amendment rights of free speech to express their views with an adequate time made available to them. I hope that you'll take my viewpoint as a local constituent into account and make a decision that would give the people adequate time to express their viewpoints on any matters related to our local schools, curriculum, and
20
students.
seconds.
Thank you so much for your consideration regarding this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa O'Shea, Rich Lashua, and Michelle Voigt.
And I did prepare 3 minutes, so wish me luck. I'm Lisa O'Shea, Learning Center Director for Olive Grove Charter School in Santa Barbara. We're located on Cliff Drive on the Mesa. As a member of the Santa Barbara community, I'm here to introduce myself and our school and tell you about our program. Olive Grove Charter School is a personalized learning public charter school serving students in grades TK through 12. We offer a supportive, independent study-based program where students regularly meet with their supervising teacher, have options to come into our learning center daily for educational supports, such as teacher office hours, tutoring, study skills sessions with ed specialists for students with IEPs, in-person weekly ELD classes and science labs, and enrichment programs such as guitar lessons, drama, and art through the Children's Creative Project. We already partner with your district by serving students who struggle with attendance and peer issues, students who've not developed self-efficacy academically, and students whose extracurricular activities such as polo, gymnastics, acting, etc. demand a flexible yet supportive learning schedule. Olive Grove Charter School is fully accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, WASC. As a public school, our students are take the same statewide assessments, and Olive Grove is subject to the same academic accountability measures as other California public schools and districts. Olive Grove Charter School.
20 seconds.
Okay, I'll skip that part. In March, we were placed in the middle performance category, which indicates our charter may be renewed for a 5-year term. I warmly welcome you to visit our Learning Center. May 15th, you have an invitation. And what our current charter, we're sponsored now by the State Department of Education. Our current charter runs through June 2026, and at that time we intend to seek renewal through the Santa Barbara Unified School District to provide our oversight and authorization.
Thank you very
for
much.
your time.
Rich Alashua, Michelle Vogt, and John Pollet.
Panorama surveys got me thinking. Maybe the best approach is a Sunday night phone call. How does another week of work look? Imagine you're an arts teacher. Years ago, when Santa Barbara Junior High had 800 plus students, I struggled to build my program despite my colleagues enjoying robust teaching circumstances at the time. I was told to improve my program and enrollment would follow. I'm a Performing Arts Teacher of the Year who worked across the hall from a previous recipient who, in turn, inherited the music job from a national board-certified teacher. Yet enrollment has declined, and my counterparts at La Colina struggled to maintain minimums in their programs, despite the lottery to get into their school now. I don't think teachers are the problem here. Balanced enrollment helps, but only if more course takes in the day increase. A 7th period is the simplest solution, but it's not the only one. When the state mandated health class in junior high, the district implemented it the following year. After 2 years of my warning that we are not meeting state-mandated minimum access for arts classes, the district has proposed cuts to over a dozen arts positions. I'd no longer have a theater program for my students to feed into, as demonstrated tonight. Didn't that silence feel longer? So much for vertical PLC alignment. To generate enrollment, I have collaborated with 3 other teachers to take a choir to sing on Broadway in New York City this weekend. 2 of those 3 teachers no longer know if they have a job next year because of enrollment. The last board meeting went past 2 in the morning with many public comments demanding protection for the arts. 2 board members proposed those protections, and the retired music teacher on the board wouldn't commit to it and needed more time to think about it. 2 years hasn't been enough? Tomorrow, many arts teachers have to arrive before their peers or stay well after the others leave, in a few cases both, just to continue to stay employed. And yet they're hoping for another shot at a broken system designed for them to fail.
Time is up.
How would you grade the district in creating a culture of caring? We cannot fix the system, but yes, we can. If we succeed, you will be heroes who restored what we have needed for so long. If we try and fail, I think you would be amazed at how much grace you'll get from a public who sees a good faith attempt to do the right thing that doesn't land perfectly.
Time is up.
The absolute worst thing we can do, however, is nothing. We didn't create this problem, but it is our responsibility, and we ignore it at our peril. Clock's ticking.
Thank you. Time is up.
How are you feeling about going to work tomorrow?
Michelle Voigt. Oh.
Hi, I'm Michelle Voigt, a parent of 2 children at San Marcos High School. We have award-winning art, music, and band rooms that are thriving. Teachers that are essential to our students' growth, creativity, and community. Yet we have teachers, and many of them who are those who run those programs, and are part of the 85 who received RIFs. Yet on the other hand, we have an administration in this district that is continuing to rise. Under Superintendent Maldonado's administration, since her arrival, enrollment has decreased by 10%. Over the same time, her cabinet's compensation has increased nearly 8%. To me, that's not alignment, that is negligence. A glaring example is the chief operating officer whose role was created during COVID, now earning nearly $270,000 per year. This role has seen a raise of 21% in 2 years, while classroom teachers are being handed pink slips. If COVID funding is a reason we're cutting teachers, then positions created with those same funds should be on the table too. Cutting one administrator could preserve multiple arts and music programs that serve hundreds of students. These roles are unique. Unlike science and English departments where several teachers per campus, most schools have just one music or art teacher. When you cut them, you eliminate the program entirely. Yet not one administrator received a RIF. So if it's too late to act through formal channels this year, let's see some voluntary pay reductions. Just like the Hope School District did right here in Santa Barbara in 2016, when their superintendent and administration stepped up and took cuts to protect students and teachers. That's leadership. Right now we have an incredible opportunity. Santa Barbara is home to passionate families, world-class artists, artist institutions, educators, innovators, generous philanthropic organizations. But if we want to expand public-private partnerships, attract donors, and build something truly exceptional, then our district must show that it's aligned with the values of its community. Thank you.
Thank you. John, next is John Paulet, Frederica Streichen, and Ilya Wallman-Randall. John Paulet. Frederica Streichen.
Hello and good evening. My name is Frederica Streichen. I am a junior and international baccalaureate diploma candidate at Dos Pueblos High School. And today I want to talk about, like what the one before me talked about, the RIF notices that teachers have received, the seniority ranking it's based upon, and then also my disagreement with the current solutions for the budget cuts being proposed. I want to start by saying I am not an expert in budgets. I don't claiming I know that. I don't know the ins and outs, but I just don't agree with the solutions that are currently being presented. I don't think they're fair. Teachers are incredibly important to the development of students all across the world. They are the ones in the classroom. They're the ones educating the students. They're the ones that are shaping our future. They should not be getting cut. And I understand that teachers from other students would replace these teachers that are getting fired, but there are so many teachers that are lower on the seniority ranking that are so incredibly important to programs across the district, schools across the district. There are programs, even at my school, the International Baccalaureate program would be getting hits if these teachers get fired. There are teachers like Ms. Dwyer over there, my English 11 IB teacher. She got a RIF notice. If she leaves, there is nobody that can replace her from the other districts, other schools in the district. There are no IB programs. That means at DP, our program is being hit, our school is being hit, our English department is being hit, and they cannot deal with the amount of students that take IB English. Furthermore, I think this will hit other schools in the district. I am not privy to the other programs that are happening at other schools in the district, but I know that just like at DP, these other schools will be impacted in similar ways. Instead, I propose that the cuts are made at a level that is not in the classroom, like in the district level, the admin level, the manager levels, jobs that are making more pay than teachers are that will take a larger chunk out of the budget than teachers will. I really don't understand the budget, but I want you guys to know that this is not fair. I want there to be other solutions. This is not the solution that should be presented to the teachers.
Thank you. Ilya Wyman-Randall. Apologies about the name if it's wrong. Help me out.
Not quite right. Okay. Hi, my name is Isla Wallman-Randall, and I am an international baccalaureate candidate at Dos Pueblos High School. I thank you for taking time to listen to my point of view on the teacher layoff notices. SB Unified School District values the importance of having teachers that students can feel safe with and comfortable with. Strong, important connections are formed between teacher and student, making Dos Pueblos a safe school for all. The loss of those connections will be felt drastically. My AP chemistry teacher from last year, Ms. Mullen, was undoubtedly one of the most committed and capable teachers I have ever learned under, yet she now may lose her job due to the layoff notices. I have taken several AP and IB classes, yet hers was the first that offered full prerequisite material videos with note sheets, practice problems before the term even started, and mock AP exams in April. I don't know any student that feels Mullen does not give her all to help us learn, making a positive impact on everyone that enters her classroom. Miss Mullen always keeps her classroom open for hours after school to answer questions and provide support, and shares her room for chemistry club that I am a part of every Wednesday. Last year it was her first year ever of teaching, yet she showed and continues to show a level of dedication to helping each student in her class understand the material and succeed that I have never witnessed by any other teacher in my 11 years being a student. I can always go to Miss Mullen for help, and losing Miss Mullen means the loss of an adult on campus I feel fully safe with. These strong teacher-student connections are rare, and with the layoff of Miss Mullen comes the loss of a staff member
20
who
seconds.
continuously gives all of her time to benefit the growth of students. This is only Mullen's second year at Dos Pueblos, and I know she has so much more to offer to DP and the SP Unified community. Layoffs based on seniority do not fairly account for the dedication and perspective that new teachers bring to the school atmosphere. I hope this is taken into consideration in further decision making.
Thank you. Next is York Shingle, followed by Chloe Voigt and Naomi Voigt. Is York here?
Numbers are hard to keep in my brain as a math teacher. Good evening. I'm York Shingle, MTSS at McKinley. Got my RIF notice last month. It's time for Guess That Reserve. For the school year 2023, the reserve was, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but it was A, the highest one. The number below it was what was projected the year before. So told we'll have 7.69 left. We actually had that when we got to it. That was from 2 years before it, about half. A little more than half, sorry. And 3 years before, we were told there would be 1.91 in the reserve. There was actually 12.23 when we actually got to the year. The year before that, 2022-23, guess that reserve. It was the 11% one, the highest one. The year before, we were told it would be 7.96, and from 2 years before that, we said by the time we get to 22-23, it'll be 3.98%. It was actually 11.24. So when we get these reports that tell us we're going to have no money in our reserve, so we need to do all of these layoffs, I don't believe it because of historical data. And we need to be looking at that. So I want to appreciate and thank the board members who are pushing back and challenging and asking really difficult questions. The budget problem, it's not a spending problem, it's a budget problem, isn't going to be solved by just accepting the budget reports and approving them. And I want you to know it feels absolutely awful to not know what I'm doing next year. It feels absolutely awful. It's a huge deal. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to the students who I won't get to support next year. The students who look for me in the morning because they know I'm a safe adult who's going to care for them.
20 seconds.
It's a big deal to the teachers who are working to implement a DLI program and carrying a lot of extra work to make that happen. When you extended Dr. Model's notice contract, you said consistency was really important. What about consistency for McKinley, Santa Barbara Junior High, and all the other sites losing people? Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Voigt, followed by Naomi Voigt and Katie Dwyer.
Good evening. My name is Chloe Voigt, and I'm a freshman at San Marcos High School. I want to start off by saying how hurtful and offensive it is that you're trying to strip away our educations by removing our elective options. I'm a girl with many interests, and one thing I love about our schools is the election choices we are offered. There's something for everyone which I value and appreciate, and taking that away will not only hurt our education but our mental health. Next, I want to say, why are we spending our budget to create a fancy mental health facility at San Marcos when we have therapy built into our school day? Therapy for me is walking into the choir room during second and royal time. Therapy is the fact that 50% of my school day is doing what I love and learning how to pursue my choice of career. Lastly, I just want to say that choir and theater made me who I am today, and I hoped and wish that you would hear what we are saying and listen. The arts is such an important part of our world, and the free education our school offers us is life-changing. Don't take that away from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Naomi Voigt, followed by Katie Dwyer and Hosby Galindo.
Hello, my name is Naomi Jane Voigt, a 16-year-old student at San Marcos and this year's Teen Star. Fun fact, I also just came here late to this meeting from a musical rehearsal at San Marcos. I know I'm not alone in feeling grateful for what these opportunities at the arts program have given me. But right now, students in this district are feeling disappointed, and we're angry. We will not be dismissed or pushed back again, and that's why we came back here today. The arts are more than just a creative outlet. They build critical thinking, problem-solving, and collaboration skills. They teach us how to advocate for ourselves, which is what we're doing today, and what we will continue to do, connect with others, and develop a sense of belonging. The arts have helped me and countless others through tough times, whether it's overcoming bullying in this school district or finding a community in class. Cutting electives isn't just taking away classes. It's taking away the chance for students to discover who they are, to explore their talents, and build a future. The arts aren't an extra. They are an essential for a well-rounded education. We cannot let them be reduced or eliminated. So I urge you to protect the arts, protect our creativity, and vote no to these cuts. We are here, and we will not be ignored. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Katie Dwyer, Hosby Galindo, and Kate Lambert.
Hi, my name is Katie Dwyer, and I would like to introduce myself as one of the many teachers that you gave a RIF notice to. I've had repeated assurances from the district that it's nothing personal, but I want to explain what the choice to over RIF due to lack of careful planning means to me. This is my 8th year as an English teacher at Dos Pueblos High School. I spent 6 years teaching there from 2014 to 2020, when I took a break as I entered COVID lockdown with 2 kids under 2. I came back to DP in 2023. I've been teaching and participating in the International Baccalaureate program since 2015, and my students have a 99% pass rate for the IB English exam. I currently have a long list of students who are expecting me to write them a letter of recommendation for their college applications next fall. I am the advisor for 2 IB diploma students who will be writing their extended essay over the next year and a half. I'm a club advisor. I'm a CT for the UCSB TEP. I'm a trusted adult on campus for many DP students, and I am year 1 of a 2-year English class for the IB program. I am now having to consider other job opportunities because I have children to support and I have a mortgage to pay. For 8 years, I have shown up to class every day to model to students what kindness looks like, what it means to treat others with dignity and respect. I have outsourced the care of my own children to others so that I can take care of the high school students in my classroom. So that RIF notice might not feel personal to you, but to me and to my family and to my students and to my colleagues, it feels pretty personal. Gather the information you need and start prioritizing rescinding RIFs.
20
or
seconds.
even better, do the least amount of damage to the community by focusing your attention on where else cuts can be made. Thank you.
Hosby Galindo, Kate Lambert, followed by Alice Post. Hosby?
Good evening. The student performance said it best today. Yes, let's hope that adults in charge don't fail students or programs that are important to them and our community. It's not too late for all the students that are in charge to prioritize spending in the classroom. I've heard some board trustees asking to receive information so that they could make better decisions about the reductions in enforcement notices and how to rescind those notices. Board members, have you received that information? I've also heard some board members ask for better budgeting practices and making financial decisions much sooner than we currently do to avoid cuts like the ones the classrooms are currently experiencing. We educators support these ideas. SBTA spent all last year making the case that attracting and retaining teachers was paramount for this district. And here we are again telling you to retain teachers. Over the past 2 years, we've witnessed students not have access to world languages at their school sites, or there have been shortages, so students have taken classes online. For years, students, educators, and the community have been advocating for better access to electives for students, and no changes have been made to improve the situation. When we look at the California School Dashboard, we see that the district needs to continue investing in improving student achievement. TOSAs help build systems to help teachers teach better and students learn better. All our content teachers, our counselors, TOSAs, and elective teachers provide crucial services to students so that they receive a well-rounded education. Let's all work together to rescind all RIF notices. Students and teachers deserve better. Please provide better. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Lambert, followed by Alice Post, followed by Tanya Mark.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful board meeting. I had a great experience. I got to see a few people out in the public protesting and supporting and speaking their voices, and I was really happy to see some of our school board members out there at the Saturday protest. That was very cool. When it comes to showing things off and then riffing people at those sites, that's pretty tough. And I can understand when it feels personal. So we showed Cleveland's garden they were doing. Well, there are 4 riffs going out there. We talked about Washington being distinguished, though there are 3 riffs that went to that school. So we show things off, but then we cut things, and that's why it feels personal. We have the ability to figure out that it's not as high of a number of riffs as we need, but we need more time. Well, the best place to take that time when it comes to life-altering news, like you lost your job and you need to move and you need to tell your family. The time to do all that work would be ahead of time, and it would make people feel super respected if it could be shown that that was attempted even more. What I would love for this school district to get to do is start announcing, even if it's daily, how many riffs you have undone. It would be a great way to show that you are moving the needle, not making us wait until the 15th to find out who really has to leave and who doesn't. Waiting all that time, facing your class, is a heartbreaking, masking event that a lot of teachers are going through right now.
20 seconds.
Please support them by letting everyone know as you find out who is not riffed. Tell them as soon as possible, and tell their coworkers who are worried for them, because it's hard to go up to those people and ask them, have you heard anything yet? Thank you.
Thank you. Alice Post, Tanya Mark, and Ellen Yeomans.
Good evening, Superintendent Maldonado, members of the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
I think your mic turned off. We'll stop the clock.
Hello.
Perfect.
So I said hello. I'm Alice Post. Thank you. What I'm going to say may be kind of a little wonky. I'm not here telling an emotional story like, please save my baccalaureate teacher, which is great to hear. But I'm more looking at your process and have some constructive criticism. I think you tried really hard. I think you have an amazing staff, Dr. Maldonado, maybe a little too amazing. Like, I think maybe we spend too much on admin, but you do have a great, incredible team. And they presented incredible reports in September and October and November and January. And I was here at every meeting listening to all the financial budget reports and listening to the board saying, we got to get ahead of the 8 ball and we really have to plan. I want to share a few comments I heard from some board members. And I really want to say I'm excited about some of the new board members who are asking questions. I heard a board member say, oh, I went to a board retreat and I learned that we were going to involve all stakeholders. And she was so excited.
20 seconds.
I didn't see that in the cutting of the elementary school music at all. They told the teachers on Friday, and then there was a meeting on Tuesday. I heard a teacher say, a board member say, I'd like to plan strategically and look at everything we have to cut. We're going to have three bins. One bin, these are the things that we're going to look at to cut. These are the these are the things on that list that we're going to put them on the list, but we're going to really try to save them if we can. And 3, these are the things we're not going to touch. I didn't see that happen.
Your time is up.
I think if that had happened, music would have been in the bin. We aren't touching that. But then there's this tidal wave, and we have to send out the riffs by March 15th, and suddenly here's the budget.
Your time is
So
up.
I just think you have a great team, Dr. Maldonado, and I think with a little tweaking, you could serve your board better.
Thank you. Tanya Mark, followed by Ellen Yeomans and Brianna Serrato.
Can you hear me? Okay. Let's get the greetings and salutations out of the way right now, shall we? Hi. I'm Tanya Mark, a non-binary high school biology teacher here in Santa Barbara Unified. I don't know about you, but I feel so much better now that we know each other, although we've met before. Now there is an issue that has not so recently come to my attention that we need to discuss right now. Santa Barbara Unified School District does not officially recognize the month of June as Pride Month. You're holding on to flawed policies and philosophies. What's the use? You need to let loose. Y'all have repeatedly made decisions that created the current issues this district is experiencing. Choices. Not only that, but you turn around and try to blame anyone but yourselves, usually teachers. Oh, I lost my place. 1 second. Look over there. All tea, all shade, all pink lemonade. Y'all don't see students and staff as the amazing people they are. You see numbers. And that can't continue. No, ma'am. This district, when it comes to reading the room, illiterate. After sitting through hours and hours of the Ventura City Council meeting last month in a room with people telling me I don't exist, let me make it crystal clear, we're here. Not living in fear is a form of activism. I know it takes y'all quite a long time to get things completed, so I'm requesting that this district formally recognize June as Pride Month before this June begins. To quote the amazing Laverne Cox, each and every one of us has the capacity to be an oppressor. I want to encourage each and every one of us to interrogate how we might be an oppressor and how we might be able to become liberators for ourselves and for each other. Thank you.
20 seconds. Thank you. Ellen Yeomans, Brianna Serrato, and Charles Clow.
My name is Ellen Yeomans. I'm an artist in the community. This is the first school board meeting I've been to, and I'm sorry about that. I was surprised when I walked into this room. I see some wonderful student art. I know from my own experience throughout life that probably I know probably about it. Artwork for every one of these student artists, there are probably dozens who think they can't do that. They don't know how to do that. They don't have the talent to do that. They don't have the skills to do that. And maybe they don't have the skills, but we all can create. Your mission statement, we prepare students for a world that is yet to be created. They're the people who create that world. And creation is magic. It's holy. It's making something from nothing. This theater group that opened the meeting, they made a big something from nothing. You need to pay attention to that. Arts are so important. They are so important. They're probably more important than anything else. If all the machinery of our modern world was wiped away, we'd make it with art, with music, with speech, with stories, with song, with drama. We'd communicate, we'd collaborate, we'd continue to live. We'd be humans. We'd be fully human. Art is so important. It's not a sidebar. It shouldn't be an elective.
20 seconds.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember your mission statement.
Brianna Serrato, Charles Clow, and Mary LaFace.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Serrato, pronouns she, her, aya. I am a product of SB Unified and am now very informed and involved parent both on campus and at the district to a 3rd and 6th grader. I am here to voice support for the MTSS specialists and the ETS tech support specialists that have received RIF notices and urge the board to rescind those notices. Did you know that Goal 1 Action 14 of last year's LCAP states, MTSS specialists and class size reduction teachers ensures that district resources and efforts are focused on supporting all students in addressing students' academic, behavior, and social emotional well-being. The MTSS specialist is the one person on campus that is dedicated to review every student's academic, behavioral, and SEL progress throughout the year. This helps to ensure that students are not falling through the cracks. Their role also helps to continue the reduction of the district's over-identification of Hispanic Latino students for special education. As we have seen with the numerous reports to the board, there is so much work that needs to be done to support all students. Therefore, there should be more supports being provided at each school site instead of less. Unfortunately, this program has not been implemented consistently district-wide. At schools such as my children's, where we haven't had an active MTSS TOSA due to vacancies or leave, it has been impossible to support all students in the ways that they need, and the cracks have grown to ravines for many students. I encourage you to meet with 2 of the exemplary MTSSs, York Shingle and Anne Marie Galbraith, and not only support those positions by rescinding their RIFs, but help to implement their work district-wide. Our school is an example that these responsibilities are not something that can be handled in the way proposed in the RIF menu. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Clow, Mary LaFace, and PJ Carmian.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Charles. I teach at San Marcos High School. I'm here tonight to alert you all to a problem that can be solved in seconds and will help teachers feel more respected. If you open up a web browser right now on one of the devices you're on and you search SB Unified Salary Schedule, you'll see that, and then click on it, you'll see that they're divided into different categories. The salary schedule for teachers is under a menu called Certificated Non-Management. Every teacher I've talked to thinks that this is silly, to put it mildly. None of us thinks of ourselves as non-managers. And a best practice in education that we're taught pretty much from even before we're teachers is that you shouldn't define people based on what they're not. Having a deficit mindset like that gives the speaker's implicit thoughts about what people cannot do. I wouldn't refer to an emerging multilingual learner as a non-English speaker. That's not acceptable. And yet we refer to teachers as non-certificated, certificated non-management. So in keeping with these priorities, I'd urge you all to just find a new title for us and fix y'all's website right away. I get that y'all have hard jobs and a lot of what the public asks of you can't solve right away, but I feel like this one you can. And I feel like it would be pretty cool to leave this meeting tonight with a new label there. That could be pretty righteous. One other thing I'll just add very quickly is that, just picking up on what Tanya Mark said a second ago, I'm the club advisor for the San Marcos High School Gender and Sexuality Alliance. We had our Pride Week just this last week. It concluded with a Breaking the Silence celebration Friday afternoon. And I'd just like to add that I couldn't be prouder of my students in the club. And I'm honored to work alongside them to make San Marcos better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mary LaFace, PJ Carmian, and Stephen Hughes.
Good evening. My name is Mary LaFace, and I'm the choir director at Santa Barbara High School. I also used to teach choir at Santa Barbara Junior High up until last year, but unfortunately that class was cut due to declined enrollment. This year, I have been very disturbed to hear that the band teacher has also been issued a RIF notice. This is upsetting for several reasons. To begin with, the current teacher is highly qualified, he's very experienced, and he could do really great things with the program if he was given the proper support. But the larger issue is that this means the students at the junior high, Santa Barbara Junior High, will have absolutely no access to music next year. If a student wants to study music, they will have to go across town to La Colina, and not every student has the resources to make that possible. All students should have access to music and the arts, not just those whose families are better off. As a high school performing arts teacher, I'm also concerned about the long-term effect that cutting the music at SB Junior High will have on our programs at SBHS. We do not exist in a vacuum. Without a feeder school training students, our programs will fail. If students who want to do music all go to other parts of the district, what are the chances that they are going to return when they go to high school, to SBHS? Countless academic studies have shown that music increases student engagement, improves test scores, and improves school community. And I know you've heard all about those before. More importantly, though, students come to school because of their music classes, because of their performing arts classes. It gives them an authentic place to practice social and emotional learning that we keep hearing so much about. Please do not remove music from SBJHS. Rather, help support our programs by keeping performing arts teachers and by making schedules that allow all students access to our performing arts programs, even if they qualify as an EML or a SPED student. Get ahead of the decline in enrollment by supporting the classes that are key to attracting families and students to our campus. Thank you.
Thank you. PJ Carmen, Stephen Hughes, and Kat Ross.
Hi there. My name is PJ Crimean. I teach EML newcomers in journalism at Santa Barbara Junior High School. I publish the yearbook and the student newspaper with 13 and 14-year-olds. I've taught in the district for 20 years. 3 of my children are students in the district right now. You saw one of them at the beginning of your meeting tonight. Teaching junior high students has given me tremendous amounts of patience and flexibility and understanding. Each day I welcome students with an open mind and a new opportunity to work together. I daydream of a district that approaches its work with teachers, with me, using this mindset. I spend exceptional effort developing relationships built on trust, communication, and shared visions and expectations with 13 and 14-year-olds. It feels unfair that my bosses, adult experts who are paid professionals, do not invest the time in building relationships with me like this. It is further unfair that the district doesn't seem to recognize the value of our MTSS and family engagement liaisons to building and maintaining these relationships among our staff and our students. When I talk to family and friends about my job, it's almost always about distrust, broken promises, laughable dismantling of fragile structures we've been working on for years. I also talk about trying to think of my job as a way to make a living and provide for my family, a paycheck instead of a calling, or something that is personal. But it is something special and personal. What makes it personal is that I live in the community. The students who sit in front of me today will be checking me in at radiology in 10 years, or cleaning my teeth in 5 years, or coaching my kids' flag football team in 3 years, or running for mayor or senator, or writing books about the educational system. And students are watching us. The teachers and leaders in their systems, they are watching for the behavior we model during difficult conversations. They are watching what gets put at the top of the list when making budget cuts. They are watching how unaffected you are in your decision making, even though most of the community thinks that what you are doing is wrong. And they watch the courage and conviction of those who are standing up to say that what you are doing is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Hughes, Kat Ross, and Valentina Thomas.
Good evening. Every time I've been a speaker at the board, I've spoken about music. Tonight, I'm going to speak a little bit about baseball. This hurts because I'm a Yankees fan, but over this last summer, the Yankees lost one of their star players Juan Soto. If you know nothing about baseball, you still probably heard on the news that that man got an $800 million contract to play for the Mets. Now, here's what we did at the last meeting. We created 85 free agents. And I get that the people on this board were balancing the scales. Now, those 85 free agents need to balance their own scales, right? They are looking elsewhere. They are looking to move. They are trying to balance the scales for themselves so that they can sustain their families and sustain their homes. We created free agents, and now they're starting to leave. Here's the other thing. At La Colina, we know we are going to need 3 math teachers at each level. It's just numbers. We know there's going to be 800 kids-ish at that school next year. That's 3 teachers per level in math. The only 2 RIFs at that site are in math. They are awesome, young, enthusiastic teachers doing everything they can to pull their kids up to the level that we want to see in our schools, and they have to look elsewhere right now, right? Here's the thing. We shouldn't be encouraging people to leave. We shouldn't be encouraging people to look elsewhere. We shouldn't be encouraging young teachers who are doing the job as well as they can to go play for the Mets.
20 seconds.
No one should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Kat Ross and Valentina Thomas.
Hey guys. There's been a lot of discussion about declining enrollment, right? And we are declining in enrollment, right? And so if all these cuts are about declining enrollment, then we wouldn't need a rules change at the high school level, because we just have too many teachers, right? If we just have too many teachers, that sucks. We should not have so many. But that's not what's happening. There's a rules change. And now, instead of staffing our schools, well, if we were fully staffed, we'd be staffed at 320, right? Because that would be 8 classes for every student. But we're not. We're staffed at 295, and 295 is the number that students want, right? Is that without requiring anyone to not have any classes, that's the amount of staff we need to fulfill everyone's needs, okay? But we're going down to 280. That requires that students are going to be turned away next year. So we're telling students, juniors and seniors, that they are not allowed to have a full schedule. I've been shown the guidelines for next year. It has the word only in all caps, like only 6 classes, all caps, except for these few exceptions. So we're not saying everyone just gets the classes they want, and great that we are allowing students the opportunity to do other things with their schedule because they had too many options.
20 seconds.
We're not saying that. We're saying you cannot have a full schedule at our high schools anymore if you're a junior or senior. Please fix this stuff before my kid becomes a junior or senior. I want him to have a full schedule. The other thing this does is puts all of the cuts on electives, right?
Time's up.
If you can only not take elective classes, those are the classes that are missing in the schedule. That's who gets cut.
Thank you. Valentina Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Valentina Thomas, and I'm a junior at San Marcos High School, and I'm involved in the vocal music department and theater. When I was in 2nd grade, I was introduced to theater, and without having access to theater at an early age, I would not be who I am today. Being involved in these programs has not only helped me create connections with my peers, but has given me a chance to be myself and find a supportive community to call home. This is why I urge you to reconsider your choices on cutting the arts programs in our schools, because without access to arts, you'll be excluding the next generation from having amazing opportunities that I've been given. Not just this, but you will be limiting our opportunities to pursue what we deeply love and care about. Finally, these programs should not be a privilege, but an equal access opportunity for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That finishes our public comment for non-agenda items, and we will take you back to the board for board comments and correspondence. Who wants to kick it off? Dr. Beal?
Is this the appropriate time to ask for future agenda items?
I think that's at the end of the meeting. We have a future agenda items.
Okay, I
K1.
thought that's to announce things.
Yeah.
So I will make a comment. I mean, we have read a lot of letters. We've listened to talk shows, podcasts. We've heard what people have to say. So it is time to have a wider discussion with the community and involve all of our stakeholders. So I guess you'll have to wait till future agenda comment items to hear what I have to say. But if you don't stick around, you might want to listen later.
Yeah, I mean, you can say a comment, but for the to suggest a future item, you're going to want to do it during future agenda items at the end as well.
I am
We-
going to suggest a future agenda item. But if people aren't here right now, you can just say the comment and also. It will be to add some ad hoc committees to discuss many of the items that have come up.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyone else? Ms. Caffrey.
So I guess what I want to talk about today is just the role of the board, because we have an upcoming meeting and everything we can talk about happens publicly. And I feel like as a community also, it would be very helpful to just start talking about where we want to be as a board, and what our role is. And so that's what I'm going to talk about briefly today. So basically, this book, this book really was transformational for me and my understanding in the role of the board. It's called Grade on Their Behalf: Why School Boards Fail and How Yours Can Become Effective. And I brought handouts because a large part of it is basically how we represent the community. And I think we have heard many community public comments, and I just think we need a better process to really understand what our community wants and also what we value, like treating our teachers with respect. So I'm just going to read this, and then and it was written by A.J. Crowbell, who he basically is head of school board governance for the Council of Great City Schools. And he is considered an expert in this field. And for example, under AJ's guidance, the DeSoto district improved their F-rated performance in academics, finance, and governance to B ratings. That's just one of his many accomplishments. Okay. So to be, this is page 34, and I have copies if anyone would like to see. To be effective, school board members must engage in a never-ending continuous improvement process. And I'll just take the first two pieces. This 5-step chronological process covered in part 2 must start with Step 1, focus mindset. Adopt a way of viewing the world that inspires effective governance behavior. To focus mindset requires the school board leads from the stance that school systems only exist to improve student outcomes, that student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change, starting with the school board, and that school boards exist to represent the vision and values of the community. Inside of these views of the world, the school board becomes so intensely focused on improving student outcomes by changing its own behavior that it becomes impossible for the school board to be distracted by unaligned adult inputs, serve an interest that is not the community's, or be seduced into creating a culture of blame. By definition, if a school board is not engaged in continuous improvement routines or spends its time blaming anyone for lower than promised student performance, then the school board is not doing the work to focus mindset. Only within the context of a student outcomes-focused mindset do subsequent steps have the full potency needed to improve student outcomes. Then the school board must acquire the knowledge and skill to implement 4 additional behaviors, listed in order of implementation as follows. Step 2, clarify priorities. Set the school system's priorities based on the community's vision and values. To clarify priorities requires that the school board listen for the community's vision for what students should know and be able to do. Listen for the community's non-negotiable values that must be honored while in pursuit of that vision. Then the school board writes down the vision in the form of SMART goals about student outcomes and writes down the values in the form of guardrails that are prohibitions on superintendent authority. By definition, if the school board has not adopted 1 to 5 goals and 1 to 5 guardrails, we recommend 3 or fewer of each. And if the community does not experience a sense of ownership of the goals and guardrails, then the school board is not doing the work to clarify priorities. So I guess I bring that up today because I feel like, and I said this in our last meeting, just that when we budget, that really is a moral document, and it reflects the priorities of the district. And our district, I mean, we as a school board are up here to serve our community and represent what our community's priorities and values are. And I think we've heard loud and clear that our high schoolers want to have robust access to electives, including the arts. We've heard from, I mean, that's even beyond the evidence that supports all of this, but this is a community value. And then, yeah, and also a guardrail that our teachers are telling us that we need to treat them with respect and treat them with humanity. So I think that is also community value. So that's why I bring this up today, and that's my board comment.
Thank you. Mr. Banning, any correspondence, comments?
Not at this time.
Okay. So a couple of things that I will start with, just kind of some updates, and then I'll give some comments. But met with the Kabaway group to go over some curriculum for the one of our ethnic studies courses, and just to give us a taste of the work that our teachers are doing to develop our ethnic studies courses, the curriculum, and also the supports that they're providing their teachers for the classes. And I have to say, everything from the instructional materials that we approved as a board last year, to the implementation, to the supports that are being provided, I could not be more impressed with what they have. And maybe we can set up a future update on ethnic studies curriculum to just give you some of that insight that I got in our last meeting together. Additionally, we went over some of the updates for the uniform complaint process and some of the feedback that that group has given to the district staff about improvements that can be made, everything from website updates to following up with parents, so that, or anyone who submits a uniform complaint, that they're getting updates throughout the process so that they know that it's not, that we're doing some work on it. And obviously there are some restrictions on what sort of information that we can share. Let's see. I want to commend our students. I think anytime our students display any sort of activism, and we see it here today in the board meeting, we saw it earlier to start from the Santa Barbara High School theater group. We want our students to advocate. We want our students to be involved. We want to hear their voices. And I think I'm always impressed, whether it's our student board member or it's the students that get up to give public comment. Giving public comment is really difficult. Like, I get nervous giving public comment. And I think just how articulate they are, the advocating that they are doing, not only on behalf of themselves, speaking their truth, talking about their experience, speaking about how the arts have affected them and have helped them grow, has been really, really impactful. And I've just been so, so impressed. And so it does not fall on deaf ears, I can guarantee you that. So there's that. there is also at Santa Barbara High School the activism of the walkout, and the impending fear of what these ICE raids and having ICE in our community does to our students, to our families, to our teachers and employees. And I think seeing our young folks advocating for their peers and for the adults in their life and in the community is really, really important. And I want to commend our students for really speaking up and showing their activism. I think for me, let's see, who was it? It was Charles Clow. I think that's a fair point of bringing up the certificated non-management. I'm interested in pursuing, can we change that? Because it is very much a deficit mindset. It's an easy change, and it is in some ways, it's a small thing, and I think we need to think larger than that about how we talk about positions or categories or people, so that we're always honoring the worth of folks and what they bring to the table. And I think that's one small example. And then to build on that, a larger one, but again, I'm hoping not just in resolution, but in practice, that we're showing support for our LGBTQ employees, students, our families, the folks in the community. And so that is something that I'm hoping that we can follow up on to officially recognize Pride Month. Congratulations to Washington Elementary and Principal Curry for becoming a California Distinguished School. I want to say the information that Dr. Maldonado shared, I think people have heard a lot about the work that we're doing on housing opportunities for our employees. And I have to tell you, from being involved in this, to get to this point, to negotiate to where we've negotiated to get the $17 million, but also 95 units for our employees, was a very long and difficult process. And I am very appreciative of the work that Dr. Maldonado, but also our legal counsel did to really advocate for those things. It wasn't always easy. And it wasn't always going to be the case where we were going to land where we did. Let's see, do I got anything else? I think I was really happy to hear that Ms. Caffrey read a little bit of an excerpt from that book, because every intention is that's where we're going. We have a board retreat or board study session on May 10th. And that's really what this is about, is like getting alignment about hopefully eventually setting some goals and some values and that the community, that our employees, that everyone takes ownership of, so that over the next near term, whether that's 3 years, 5 years, we have a really focused effort that we're making movement on. And I think we are going to get to where Ms. Caffrey is talking about in excerpts from that book. And I think May 10th is just one step in that direction. We took the first step a couple of months ago, and we're going to continue down that path. So I just want to thank Ms. Caffrey. And that is my board comment and correspondence. So with that, we will go to E1, acceptance of donations for April 8th, 2025.
I move to approve the acceptance of donations with gratitude.
I second the motion.
We have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. And now we have consent agenda. I know we have one item that we're going to pull, but does anyone else have any other items that they'd like to pull? Dr. Bill.
I don't have an item that I want to pull, but I want to make a comment on an item.
Can hold that comment just for a second, because I think we have a public comment, and then we'll go to the pulled item.
We do.
Yeah, we're going to do the public comment first.
We have a public comment on F-17, the HR report. Brianna Serrato.
$3 minutes. Yeah, that's fine.
Hello again. In reviewing tonight's HR report, it was wonderful to see that 11 special education paraeducators are being hired on and the promotion of a playground supervisor to the position. Sadly, there are 3 resignations and 1 retirement. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, SB Unified is the only local school district to not have positions for on-call special education paraeducators. There are also no part-time paraeducator positions listed on the district's current openings page. Since the district has struggled for years to fully staff this position and the services these positions provide are legally required per student's IEPs, why is the district not thinking more creatively to fill these positions other than by paying expensive contracts to outside agencies or having no-shows? While you've heard from me on countless occasions on how not having consistent para support has affected my son emotionally and academically, I was appalled when I recently learned of a student who didn't have para support due to staffing issues and ended up being suspended that day. So, didn't get to finish my full comment. Again, encouraging the board and the district to try to get those positions filled because it affects the kids so much, and it affects not just the kids that have the IEP for the one-on-one or whatever the ratio is for them. It affects the other kids in the classrooms because those kids may be not getting the needs met. It affects the teachers, and it affects the rest of the class and the school in general because other staff have to then kind of pull in. So again, please just try to do like the other local districts. Again, at the job fair, SBCEO job fair, they all said that yes, they have an on-call list for paraeducators and they have part-time positions for it as well. So I know we do have some paraeds that only are working part-time, yet on the district website that's not an option. So there's many parents, there's many other community members that maybe they could do part-time, they could do on-call, however they can't commit to do 8:30 to 3 Monday through Friday. So the resources are out there, we just need to try to cultivate that for all of our kiddos. And I didn't get a full chance, I still have a little time, so I'll pull it up. But one other thing I noticed on the appointments was something related to the purchasing department. And so since one of the buyers was a RIF notification, I was just wondering if there was any tie-in with regards to that. But unfortunately, I didn't get to do my due diligence in time, but wanted to bring that up. It looks like it might be a purchasing tech is the position. And so is that related at all to the budget assistant? This is a new appointment, is a purchasing tech.
20
but
seconds.
since there was a purchasing buyer that was riffed recently, I thought it was a little interesting. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will turn it over to Dr. Maldonado for the pulled item.
Thank you. Dr. Becchio is going to come up, and before you, board members, you have a printout of the corrections that he will be speaking to, so he can have a moment to explain that.
Yes, thank you very much. Just wanted to pull the F-17 to highlight 2 corrections to that. Would you like me to do that now, Board President Escobedo?
Yes, please.
Just a minor change. Raquel Frosto was put under resignations, but that's actually a retirement. So I want to congratulate her on her retirement. And then also under appointment change section on the first page, Lauren Moore was listed as an increase from 3.0 to 3.5 FTEs, but that's actually the days, and so staff put it down as FTEs. So it's actually it's corrected now on the new version. It's an increase from 0.6 to 0.7. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Beal.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment on agenda item in the consent agenda F7 that we are receiving a new grant, and this is a junior high and high school collaboration with UC Santa Cruz to expose students to CTE pathways. And I had some questions about this, and I have received information that they are going to be working with local companies, and this grant is going to fund that these students can go to these companies and be exposed and start to develop their interest in a CTE pathway or career. So I think that's great. I think the grant is great. The only comment I want to make is I noticed that at least part of the funding is planned for a CTE program assistant. And I know that we are having this conversation about focusing our funding on as much student outcome as we can. So I would just request that as we make these decisions, that we make sure that the funding is really going as much to the students and the activities they do in the program, and that we don't keep adding staff to manage our programs. That there probably are other staff that can maybe take some of this on, or we can consolidate some of our other program staff, if that's possible, that we keep that funding, like I said, towards the students, and a little bit and a lot less towards staffing and not duplicating that work.
Thank you. Any other comments? Request to pull an item? Yeah, go for it.
I would like to request to pull the apologies. Can you just tell me where the bond oversight committee is that?
Yeah, that is F6.
F6 for discussion.
Do you want to say more?
Yes. So basically, my concern with just approving well, I guess I have some questions first about the process of how we got these applicants for our bond oversight committee.
We have Ms. Hernandez coming up to give.
Oh, do we need to vote first to pull it for discussion? Or I can explain why I want to pull it for discussion and then we vote? I'm sorry.
Ms. Hernandez,
I apologize.
Hang in the bullpen, and I'll call you in if we need you.
Okay, so basically the reason that I would like to pull the bond oversight committee for discussion is because we have had vacancies on this committee for I don't know how long, but we have 3 vacancies, and basically 2 of the members have termed out. And they have termed out a couple of years. And I just would like to know what the process is for recruiting people to the Bond Oversight Committee, and also how it is structured and what kind of oversight it provides. Because, for example, Santa Barbara, I'm sure you also received many emails from San Marcos High School about how we're allocating our bond funds, and a feeling of fairness, that it is not fair. And I would like to know more about this committee and kind of how, yeah, so I can talk more in the discussion, but that is my reasoning for pulling the item.
Dr. Beal, did you want to add?
So I would ask Board Member Caffrey, is the issue that this we have not advertised these positions, so so people aren't aware that they can be on the bond committee and have an impact on the funding? Is that the question?
Well, would that be the discussion?
Are we discussing this?
I don't know that there's.
I mean, shall I explain why I have?
Sure, I think that would be
okay.
helpful.
So basically, well, one, I'm not sure people do know about this committee. So when I emailed people who had emailed about San Marcos High School, they had never heard about it, and they also didn't know about vacancies. So one, I'm wondering, how are we advertising? 2, I think that the Bond Oversight Committee is very important in terms of making sure we allocate our bond money well, and we're managing our facilities as well as possible. And the fact that there have been vacancies for a few years, well, I don't know for how long. There have been vacancies, people have termed out. I just think maybe this committee needs a refresh. And then also, if you look at the applications for the Bond Oversight Committee, one of the applicants doesn't have any experience. So I feel like how we manage our facilities is super important, and I want to have a really robust process of making sure that we're spending money to maintain our buildings. So that's my reasoning for pulling it. So I mean, I can explain what I would like.
Can I jump in? So the Bond Oversight Committee, correct me if I'm wrong, we may need a relief pitcher. So when we pass the bond, in the actual language that was passed, it's also language for the Bond Oversight Committee and the membership of the Bond Oversight Committee. So in the supporting documents for this particular item, there are at least one member shall be both a parent or guardian of a child enrolled in the district and active in a parent-teacher organization. One member active in a business organization representing the business community located in the district. One member active in the Senior Citizens Organization. One member active in the Bona Fide Taxpayers Association. So oftentimes actually every time that I've seen a bond pass, there's almost always language about bond oversight. And it outlines membership, it outlines application process, and it outlines roles and responsibilities of what they're supposed to do. Now, I do know that has been, and this is where I'm going to call on you, Ms. Hernandez, I know that there have been issues with recruitment. My question to you, following up on Ms. Caffrey's question, is where do we advertise for these positions? And can you give us a little bit more information about the application process?
Yes, and first off, thank you so much for talking about it, because every time we talk about this, we are also alerting the public as the need for volunteers for this. So again, these are volunteers, and you've laid out the types of folks that we're looking for, which is which he's exactly right. That was what was passed when the bond was passed. So we advertise quite frequently. We advertise in the paper. We have done some parent squares. Dr. Maldonado has done some in her superintendent's letters. When we had more newspapers, it was easier to advertise in the newspapers because there's a requirement that it has to be a newspaper that is like a newspaper. So that makes it also really difficult, but we have found some places where we can get that done. Talking about it, we have talked about it with the board as well, getting that information out. We'll continue to do that. We also look for any recommendations that the board might have of ideas that you can think of where we might advertise. We have also reached out individually to different organizations in the city and in the county, sending them emails, asking for folks to, volunteer if they can. And I think that is perhaps where we received one of our volunteers, Jennifer, who has been amazing. So, that's how we do it. And so it's, if I can do a little plug for this committee, it is an amazing committee of people who are really, just really love the idea of helping to build wonderful facilities for our students. They don't have to have any sort of background in construction or anything else. They just have to really want to help us come up with, what they do is they review our audits, they review what the board has voted for in terms of projects. They do not tell us what projects to do. That's the board's decision. What they do is they make sure that whatever the board has decided and the funding has been allocated the way that the board has decided, that we are in fact doing that with the money. So it's not, they don't have any sort of, in fact, they are not allowed to tell the board what to do. It's more like we're making sure, the group is making sure that the board's decisions are actually being implemented. They look at the very finite costs for each of the projects. They look at what our future projects are, and they say that, they make sure that money didn't go into anybody's pocket, that it actually went towards the projects that the board has decided that we should be doing for our students.
Ms. Caffrey?
So thank you very much. As a new board member, I'm really learning about all the different committees and also the possibility for committees. So I guess one thing I would maybe ask the board is just perhaps this might be in a later portion of the meeting, but like a property advisory committee might be helpful, because if we look at, I was just looking up some of the information that was on school districts' websites in other places in California, so like Mountain View and Irvine, and they have really robust assessments of what they basically every single building and school site, and it's super clear. And at the very beginning of the process, there's a prioritization by community members as well. I just think that it's worth thinking about our process for how we manage our buildings and perhaps doing a full assessment of all our buildings, because I just am hearing from many community emails that, you know, certain things are not being done. For example, at San Marcos High School, and have we done a full assessment? And I just think, you know, I'm all about transparency, and looking at those websites, the level of information and also the number of community members who have advised on it is high.
Dr. Beal?
Is this information going to be on the master site plan that we're going to discuss as a board on April 22nd? And so, Cameron or Steve Enns, are we, were those recommendations, were they from a community meeting that community members participated in?
Yes, we'll be sharing this at the next board meeting. And our team went to each school and met with the educational partners of each school to get their input. So, yes. So our EduSpeak. So it's the staff, students, families, and even community members. So, and we'll have all those details.
Would you say those meetings were well attended?
Yes, we had over, I believe, 130, over. Yes. Marina was actually overseeing the meetings.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Maldonado. So we met at every school site, and we advertised for it. The school sites knew that we were coming. And the meetings were well attended, up to 30 people, you know, depending on the school site. And they were represented, depending on the school, by students, parents, teachers, the principal, of course, the assistant principal. And in some cases in high schools, they had the members of foundations, donors, and very involved PTAs. You know, so we had representatives of school communities who expressed their priorities to us very, very clearly. Before we went to the schools, we also distributed our handouts and our recommendations. Now, for Ms. Caffrey, we had done our facilities condition analysis internally very robustly. We used our own team. We have 45 people who represent various shops. That's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and building envelope, which is carpentry shop. That would, they went to all the schools. They inspected every building. We had a system of prioritization based on the life cycle of building systems. And we have that report. We presented it to the board last year in 2024. The work was done in between August and October. Actually, was more like 6 months enterprise by our internal team, and we've done that work in 2023. And we have created the full facilities condition analysis at that time, which we can also present to the board along with the master plan, which part of the master plan is based on that facilities condition analysis, and that our recommendations are also based on that condition analysis. And when we met with the school communities, a lot of the requests that we received from school communities were aligned with what we have recommended in our facilities condition analysis. And it was wonderful to see that, because then, we understand that we're actually, clued in as to what the schools want and what's important for the schools. And of course, from facilities management perspective, it is extremely important to maintain our building systems that are not visible to people, like electrical, like plumbing, like sewage systems, like our, pipes and all, electrical, not just wiring, but electrical infrastructure, like transformers, like switch gear. All of those items are not visible to people. A lot of them don't even know what of their existence, but they're extremely important for us to maintain and make sure that we replace them as their life cycle comes to an end. Otherwise, the repairs and the time spent on repairs and the materials, they cost more than the replacement value. So that's how we made our recommendations based on those criteria.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Ms. Caffrey?
Well, I guess we can talk about this during the master facilities plan discussion.
All right. So with that and the changes that were, thank you, Mr. Hernandez. The changes that were highlighted on the human resources recommendations, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
We have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. So that takes us to G1, our first action agenda item of the night, employment agreement with Mr. Conrad Tedeschi, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services. Dr. Maldonado?
He is here, so do you want to take a vote first and then he can come and speak?
Sure. Do I have a Tedeschi? I apologize. Do I have a motion?
Are
Ms.
we going to
Caffrey?
fight for it? Just kidding, you go for it.
All right. I move to approve the employment agreement with Mr. Conrad Tedeschi, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services.
I second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And Mr. Tedeschi, if you would like to say a few comments, congratulations. Welcome to the team. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much, President Escobedo, members of the board, Dr. Maldonado, and cabinet, and the whole SBUSD community. I'm honored that I was selected to come back to Santa Barbara Unified. I was here about 10 years ago for 3 years, working as the Director of Fiscal Services. I'm currently employed by the Goleta Union School District as their Chief Financial Officer, and have loved every minute of it. I've lived in the Santa Barbara community for 40 years. I've been a part of this community in Goleta and Santa Barbara and love being here. I've been married to my wife, Nicole, who came with me tonight for over 30 years, and she's tolerated me for all those years, but she's also my strength and support system, and I really appreciate all that she does for me. I'm a CPA with about 17 years in public school finance experience that I'm excited to bring to Santa Barbara Unified. I take the job very seriously, and one of the big things about the job that means so much to me is building relationships throughout the community, school sites, community members, administrators, all the way across. A little more about me. I have 4 sons. 2 of my sons went to Monroe Elementary. 3 of my sons graduated from DP. I have one who's a senior at DP right now, and hopefully he will graduate in June as well. He better. I actually have 4 grandkids as well, and 1 on the way. So I'm very excited about that. Being a grandparent is way more fun than being a parent. But I want to be very specific about how I approach the job as a CBO. There's certain characteristics that are very important to me, and that's integrity, honesty, loyalty, compassion, and transparency. And I think all of those things are good to have across any district, anywhere, in any job. So I'm very excited to be a part of that and to bring that to the fiscal department and to this district itself. And one of the things that I like to do, which has been easier at Goleta, might be a little more challenging here, but I like to visit school sites periodically because it grounds me into figuring out why I'm doing this. There's nothing like going into a kindergarten class and running around with 5-year-olds and having some fun and reading a book with them. But it really helps me, reminds me about student achievement is the most important thing that we do, developing the whole child, mental health supports, all of those things we do. And as we develop a budget, to make sure all of those things are included. And watching our teachers teach. I think I've never been a teacher. My wife has been in education over 25 years. She's currently a Tier 2 intervention specialist for Goleta, and I get to hear all the wonderful things that go on in the classrooms in Goleta. But it's important for me to build relationships with teachers, principals, classified staff all throughout the district. So without taking up much more of your time, I want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited to come back and start work. I will be having some lunch with Kim a little bit to kind of, get a feel for where things are. I appreciate the warm welcome that I've received so far. Some of the people in the fiscal department I actually hired 10 years ago, so I hope they're happy to see me come back. So thank you all, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we'll go to G2, approval of the quarterly Williams Uniform Complaints Report. Who do we have on this one? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. We have our quarterly report that is part of the process that we have here for three areas that we need to make sure that are where they should be, and if there are any number of complaints that we need to report to the board. The three areas are textbook and instructional materials, teacher misassignments and vacancies, and facilities conditions. And for that, for this quarter, which is the April report for January through March, we have 0 complaints and nothing to report or to be resolved. And so this is the quarterly report for April 8th with these 3 items. Our motion is to approve this quarterly report for April.
Thank you, Ms. Alvarado. And we do not have any public comment for this item. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the quarterly Williams Uniform Complaints Report.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to G3, approval of 2025-26 Comprehensive School Safety and Wellness Plans. And we have Ms. Edison. Welcome.
Good evening, Board. I am presenting to you the comprehensive safety and wellness plans that were adopted by school site councils at each of our school sites and are presented to you for approval. If you recall, we shifted slightly in our safety plans a couple of years ago to include overall wellness, not just physical safety. These plans take into account physical, mental, emotional, and social safety, and how schools are working towards the district-wide vision and mission around belonging and having safe adults at school.
Thank you. And we have one public commenter.
Brianna Serrato.
Hello again. In reviewing the Santa Barbara Junior High School Year 2025-26 Comprehensive School Safety and Wellness Plan, Safety Plan Goals for 2025-2026, Component 2, Environment Supporting Mental Wellness Objectives states, students will receive support in reaching high academic and behavioral expectations via academic, counseling, and behavioral interventions and mental wellness support. I would like to bring special attention to 2 of the related activities to help ensure this goal is implemented and successful. The first is Learner Intervention Team, led by MTSS TOSA, will create student support plans for students, pair students with mentors, and monitor progress for students identified based on academic, behavioral, and social emotional indicators. Point 2 is the NEST will be hosted by a staff member and can be accessed by students who are displaying signs of distress and the need for social emotional support throughout the day. While I understand this plan was approved by the School Site Council on February 26th, which was prior to the RIF notifications being sent out, which include MTSS TOSA positions and the NEST staff, these plans were approved by the district today, April 8th. So how do schools implement their comprehensive school safety and wellness plans when critical positions like the MTSS TOSAs and the NEST, not just the TOSA on this one, but if you look at other plans, they are also mentioned in many of the other school site plans, and the NEST are potentially being eliminated? The district and board talk a lot about the importance of student mental health and having a safe space on campus. So where are students supposed to go when the campus-wide safe space at Santa Barbara Junior High, the Nest, is being broken up? And while it was great to see the amazing Korean battles, avid teacher being highlighted as the classroom champion tonight, it was interesting with the timing, since one of the other RIFT positions that has gone under the radar is the counselor on special assignment position, which was established to provide dedicated support for the avid program across the district.
Thank you. All right. Any questions from the board? Any comments from the board? Yeah. Mr. Banning.
I'd like to start by thanking all of the site teams who engaged in this important work. These plans reflect thoughtful coordination, alignment with district values, and a genuine commitment to creating schools where students feel safe, seen, and supported. I appreciate the time and attention these teams have given to aligning both compliance requirements and site-specific needs. One of the things that I saw as I looked through this report is evidence of some district-wide strengths. There's a consistent use of a common template. It supports clarity, coherence, and equitable expectations across all the school sites. The emergency preparedness procedures are well articulated with monthly drills, crisis go integration, and access to opioid overdose response protocols as part of broader safety nets. Across all levels, there's clear attention to social emotional well-being, trauma-informed practices, and relationship building as core components of student safety, of campus safety. Many schools are engaging students through the leadership opportunities, climate building events, and restorative practices that shift the focus from punitive to supportive discipline. Schools are using the survey data, including panorama and checks, to assess needs and develop responsive goals. In addition, they also identify some areas of growth if we look across the practices and the plans. Chronic absenteeism remains a significant challenge at the secondary and alternative ed levels. Continued investment in re-engagement strategies is crucial. Disproportionality in discipline, especially for students receiving special education services and English learners, persists across multiple levels. There's a need for strengthened intervention systems and equity-focused professional development. While physical safety systems are strong, some schools report lower student perceptions of emotional safety and belonging. Those climate indicators deserve close attention and targeted improvement. A few plans have included some outdated references, missing data points, or formatting issues. Continued refinement and coaching at the site level can ensure these plans serve as true working documents, not just compliance artifacts. These plans affirm our district's commitment to safe and supportive learning environments. As a board member, I support their approval and recognize them as living documents that guide our shared work, not just on safety drills and protocols, but on creating schools where every student is known, valued, and supported. And Ms. Serrato, I think the reference here to living documents may be a part of answering the question about how we address things that are put in place before things may have changed. Thank you for bringing those questions to us.
Ms. Caffrey.
I'd just like to say that was beautifully said, Trustee Banning.
Thank you.
I agree.
A lot of reading.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the school site safety plans.
I second the motion.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
It's unanimous. And so we will close out the action agenda and we'll move on to report and discussion agenda items. And we have one. It's H1, Secondary Math Curriculum Implementation Update. And we have Dr. Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. I'm proud to share an update on the secondary math curriculum implementation. This will be a second report to the Board this evening. I'm joined by Dr. Bradley Brock, our LaCombe Junior High principal, as well as Mrs. Janet Hollister, our secondary math and instructional support specialist. I'd like to begin by quickly reviewing the framework that we are using to implement our Amplified Desmos curriculum. It's this high-quality curriculum implementation framework developed by the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. These 6 pillars have guided our implementation thus far and will continue to guide it as we move forward through subsequent years. We'd like to share with you a few items this evening, specifically the leadership development that we have engaged in through Amplify Desmos, as well as how we have designed leadership teams to help us monitor the implementation, build out an assessment system, and also review implementation feedback, as well as highlight some important next steps at the end. As I shared in the board memo, we've highlighted the important professional learning that our teachers have engaged in this past year. This evening's presentation highlights the important leadership development that has occurred. Our principals have engaged in a series of professional learning with Amplify Desmos to build out their understanding of the curriculum, including how the curriculum is shaped around problem-based learning, as well as the instructional routines that are embedded in it, the differentiated supports, and they've engaged in some important demonstration lessons, as well as facilitated walkthroughs using an observation protocol and with one-on-one leadership coaching. And then Dr. Brock is going to highlight the impact of some of those leadership sessions with you.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Maldonado. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I think what's really powerful about Amplified Desmos and what sets it apart from other partners that I've experienced over my educational career is that they contextualize the learning in our schools. Their staff are teaching our students in our math teachers' classrooms, and that's powerful. And this observation tool is really an artifact of this approach, and it incorporates teacher design to help deepen their own knowledge about what works to improve student learning. It's hard to learn new things in isolation, and a hallmark of the implementation model that Dr. Wilson has led has been a team-based approach where we use feedback data to consider common understanding for how we can improve the learning experience for both teachers and students.
Just to describe a little bit more on the teams that we have developed, we're participating in the Amplified Desmos Early Adopter Group, and this is a group of district teams that are chosen from throughout the nation to provide additional support and leadership coaching around change management so that we can build on one another, share our practices, and learn from each other. And this work has really fed, so the participants in this early adopter group take the work, take the learning, take the direction that we set, and then we feed that into our math leadership team. The math leadership team includes teacher representatives. So you'll see that in the early adopter group, we don't have teachers participating in that work, but then the work carries over to the teachers into that junior high math implementation team or leadership team. And so it's there that we're able to hear teacher voice, get their feedback and input, and help shape the direction that we're going. As part of that work in the early adopter group, we administered a mid-year implementation feedback survey. And we had certain data points that are important for us to help us reflect on the implementation. I'd like to highlight a couple here for you in particular. You'll see these 2 data points are related to teacher responses on the curriculum and their evaluation of it having a positive impact on students, as well as whether it's their learning outcomes or their engagement. And you'll see overall positive feedbacks related to their ratings of the curriculum. On this next slide, we have 2 important data points related to the professional learning that teachers have engaged in from the Amplify Desmos coaches. And so overall, you do see positive ratings with some not sure and maybe even some strongly disagree as well. But these are important reflection points in terms of how the professional learning is instilling confidence as well as answering the questions that they have. Teachers have also provided on this survey some open-ended responses related to challenges and obstacles they've encountered. A couple I would like to highlight on this screen is the rigor is much higher in this curriculum. So it is much more rigorous for students to engage in. And so as part of that, the pacing is also harder. So how much to spend on certain components of the lesson is also creating some challenges and opportunities for our teachers. In addition, and lastly, to round out this implementation feedback, teachers were asked to share a positive story related to their experience with Amplified Desmos. And just real quickly, I want to point out in the middle of this first one, you'll see the yes with the exclamation point, triple exclamation point, as well as the end of this last one on the far right, which is a smiley face. These are directly from teacher responses, and they are showcasing how the curriculum, these are descriptions of how students are reacting to the curriculum with a yes, and it's having a positive impact because it's making them feel great. So these are anecdotal evidence that are important reminders for us about where we're headed with this.
Another way that we're using that teacher feedback as well is we're implementing a small test of change. And this is a process to help teachers actively learn how to use online assessments in the Amplified Desmos platform. So what we're doing is each school and grade level team has determined one end-of-unit assessment or quiz that they plan to administer before the end of the year. And just this morning, I was in Ms. Bushra's 7th grade classroom, and her students were already taking the end-of-unit assessment in the platform. So it looks like we're ahead of schedule.
Something I want to highlight here before moving on is we do recognize the board's desire for us to be student outcomes focused. We know that the platform for Amplified Desmos will allow us to see more real-time data. The question is what kind of data is that showing us? And that's what we're learning through this small test of change that we're implementing. And what are, at the administrative level, what do those reports look like? And what can we actually get from the platform to show us either unit by unit or with individual quizzes how students are performing? Real quickly here, I just want to review our implementation timeline. So as a reminder, this year we have focused on our implementation in grades 7 and 8, including our Math 7-8 compaction. We are focusing next year in the Math 1 space, as well as our Math 8, Math 1 compaction, and the subsequent year we will move into Math 2 and Math 3. Lastly here, I'd like to just highlight our next steps. Most importantly, we want to continue to deepen the high quality instruction implementation. So that means just continuing to monitor instruction, provide feedback to teachers, and provide additional professional learning to deepen their practice. Of course, continue to gather feedback using our tools and make adjustments to our plans as needed. We also want to develop or really enhance our implementation of the assessment and data use that we're having based on this small test. What can we do to build out this system more robustly? And also, we are actively engaged in preparing for the Math 1 launch for next year with our instructional support specialists, meeting with our Math 1 leadership team. So that's a third leadership team that we have, and they are engaging in the work of determining essential standards, determining honors criteria, as well as previewing the curriculum to get ready. So that concludes our presentation, and we're open for questions.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, no public comment. Any questions from the board? Dr. Beal?
I always get to go first, which is for better or for worse. Thank you for that presentation. I am excited to hear that everybody who's involved seems excited about this curriculum. I know a lot of thought went into choosing this curriculum, and the implementation seems also to be very thoughtful, so thank you for that. Questions I have, I know that we have at some times looked at IXL data, and so is that being used when you're looking at these end-of-unit assessments? Like, how does that figure? Because we are, I think, looking at IXL data as a way of looking at how proficient our students are at math.
Yes. So we are continuing to look at the IXL data. So if we think of the IXL data as being like fence posts, right, along the way, as kind of like big fence posts, beginning, middle, and end of year benchmarks of holistically how are students doing with all the standards on the curriculum. What we're also implementing right now are the assessments within the curriculum. We call those curriculum-based assessments, and those assessments give us an indicator of how students are doing on a smaller set of standards that are being taught at that time within that unit. So those would be like smaller posts along the way, and the goal would be that those would all feed just our learning and understanding of student performance and be able to inform conversations in PLCs around instructional practice.
So ultimately, we get to the CASP testing, right?
Yes.
And so this is maybe an odd question. I mean, I want data that helps us. Is this testing, doing the end of unit assessments, doing the IXL assessments, are these reasonably easy to do and to implement, and so that we are like looking at data throughout the year, and then I always feel that at the end we're looking at the CAPS data, which of course happens in the fall. So does this seem like an organic thing, that this is going to be an effective way to track our students' progress?
I would say somewhat. So as we think about, we know what IXL involves, and this is our first year of implementation, so we're building capacity and understanding around that. Simultaneously, though, your question gets to how easy it is to administer maybe the unit assessments within Amplified Desmos. If we administer those paper pencil, they're no different than any other assessment that we've traditionally administered, and that is what we have been doing. The majority of what we've been doing this year is administering those paper pencil. This small test that's happening right now is to try administering it via the platform, whether that's students putting their answers directly in the platform or whether that's them taking it on paper and then using their responses on the paper to put it then directly in the platform, right? So that is, it does take a little more time to do it that way. It also means that no modifications can happen to the assessments at all. Because if a modification is made on the assessment, then the system won't auto-score some of the responses. So that's really what this small change is helping us understand is what are the constraints and limitations and challenges for doing it in the platform. The benefit we know would be that teachers would be able to get some data that's more accessible and maybe easier to use, but then the work that goes into getting it, we have to really think through the number of assessments that we might want to administer in that manner. Will be really the focus of the decisions that are made at the end of this year to guide what that looks like next year.
And I guess that's exactly the point. Like, we do want to do this testing. We want to know that it's helping us make decisions, but we don't want to do so much testing that it takes up everybody's time. Right. And the small tests of change, we may find that something's not effective. And, we talk about seeing good things is just as good, seeing not good things is just as good as seeing good things, because that helps us change our practices. So I'm glad to hear that you're trying to look at that so that in the end we can align our data with what for outcomes and do it in an efficient way so that students don't feel overburdened by testing. Another question I have is, I had looked at your rollout, the timeline, and it really goes out through 2027. And I'm curious because when I look at the implementation, I'm looking at the teams, and really this is a more than full-time job for many people. And so I was at a different meeting recently, and I know that I heard one of the principals really concerned about having enough math support at their school, and it was a funding issue. And so I guess my question is I noticed that there is we know that there's the math instructional supports, one for secondary, one for elementary, and I've already expressed many times that I do feel that we still need separate supports, not a combined. But there's an MTSS TOSA that's part of that team, and I guess my question is has that MTSS TOSA been riffed, or is that person being retained for next year?
So I'm not sure whether those two TOSAs who have been participating on the leadership team have been riffed, but I do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say the school, but I can say this, that the MTSS TOSA position was eliminated through the reduction in force process at all the school sites.
Okay. Yes, I'm aware of that. So it's a little bit like listening to this discussion about the school safety plans, which is, there are positions that have specific duties, and then there's maybe a greater sense of what they do. And I think, we are expressing this concern that the whole picture be looked at, and we are asking to rescind the RIFs that really don't make sense in the bigger picture. And we're in the midst of an implementation. I feel that math is incredibly important, that we need to support it as much as we can and try to find the money. I know that in this conversation about arts and electives, we can go to the community to some degree. That's a conversation we have to start to ask for extra support. In the academic, the math and the literacy, our funding really should be directed towards core subjects. I mean, the electives are part of the core experience, but I think that's a little easier to try to pull in extra funding. So I have concerns about this system not being implemented with great fidelity if we don't keep the support we need for our teachers. They are expressing in those surveys that they are still struggling with understanding. They like the curriculum, they're trying to learn. They still have some struggles themselves, so obviously they need support. And then my biggest concern is really the other thing that we are kind of talking about as a community is what we're doing at the high schools. And there's been this ongoing discussion about the 4x4 schedule, 50-for, 50 against. But I have also heard a discussion in many areas, many people, not just math, talking about certain classes being more supported if they have there's more availability or a year-long course. Once again, not part of the schedule or not a principal there, anything like that. And the goal of really having those students in secondary be successful at Math 1 by the time they complete 9th grade is so important. And so I think as part of our scheduling decision, which is affected by staffing, which is affected by MTSS support, that we really have that discussion all along as we're looking at these RIFs. How can we not set up that program for failure? Because that's my concern. I think we're doing great with success, but how do we keep that success ongoing? So that's my comment.
Thank you, Dr. Beal. Ms. Caffrey?
So I also have a scheduling question, but I have a quick response to Dr. Beal. Is that fine? Or
go for it.
Okay. So basically, I just want to admit I was wrong in my last board meeting when I brought up the six period schedule for high school. I've since learned a lot more, and basically what I have learned is that with the 8 period schedule, you could still do year-long support for math, but I think as a district we would have to prioritize having a high level of credits available to students, which I think is a very positive thing regardless, because that way, our students who need extra support get it, but then they also get electives. So basically in an 8 period schedule, and actually it's not that expensive, relatively, you could offer year-long support for certain subjects, and at the same, but you have to have a certain number of credit offerings.
When you're saying an 8 period schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry. The block schedule.
Yeah, I'm not an educator. I'm not at the schools. I have nothing against the 4x4 schedule. With any system, there are going to be some things that don't work well. So the question is, can we have the flexibility to put some things in place within a certain type of schedule so that it doesn't cause a problem with some core learning? And, whether you call it a modified block or, you put guardrails in, I do think that this is what I'm speaking to with math and potentially other subjects, but math is the one I've heard the most about. So just really paying attention to that and having that conversation, which will lead me to my comment I'm going to make later. But
thank you, Dr. Beal. Ms. Caffrey?
So I totally agree, and I've also been hearing from many math teachers that basically we need to have more. So basically, this goes into my question. Which 9th graders get support right now, and how much support are they getting? I mean, for the kids who are behind. Is it every kid who's behind? How does it work?
Our high schools currently have approximately 2 math support sections for Math 1, and some have an additional section for Math 2 as well. And that provides that many students, so 30 students times multiple classes, so let's say 3 classes, to have that math support. So 6 sections. Am I getting my math right, Janet?
It's 1 FTE per high school.
1 FTE per high school. Yeah, so 6 sections. And students are identified for those sections based on data that they're getting for from their CAS scores, as well as recommendations from teachers based on, and what we'll have this year actually is we'll have IXL data that will help inform placement into those classes.
Can I just say that I just want to clarify, we're answering very broadly, and I worry that, you know, there's principals watching, well, at my school we do it slightly different and so on. So it's a very nuanced question, and I want to say we're giving you a broad picture. The truth is what actually happens in a school master schedule, which is what principals are working on now. We could bring back, if you want that nuance or that detailed information back. And I am aware, we are aware of the conversation around the math long classes, as you have said, and as we've looked at the smarter scheduling, as we're looking at the platform timely, that is the place where we're working with leaders to ensure what gets into the schedule first and then what gets in next, so that we can work around this math question. But there is no, I want to make sure the board understands is that we know some of the pain points for all our math teachers, particularly when we have seen TK through 12, kindergarten through 12, the low math scores that we're getting throughout the system. So this is a system-wide problem in math that's starting in the early elementary grades, and it's really a state and national problem with math. We've seen math scores drop. So what we're working on with the small test of change is everybody's working on the math problems from K to 12th grade. How the schedule gets worked out with starting with math is the puzzle that they have to put together for the master schedule, along with making sure that we have enough math teachers and so on. So I just wanted to put that in the room, because I don't want you to think what they're saying is like happening at every single school exactly as it said. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Oh, I just have a comment, which is I understand that we are looking at K through 12. A comment that somebody made to me that I really resonated with me is that when students are successful, very successful at something that they've worked very hard at within their first year of high school, that really sets them up for success for their subsequent years of high school. So I think math is one of those things that really can drag you down if you feel like you are not passing a class that you're expected to pass. So I do feel that, like, adding that other social emotional component, I mean, obviously we want our students to be proficient in math and literate, but really just even adding that other element that we pay close attention to the things that are going to help them feel successful as students as they transition from one school to another and start making decisions about their future. And so it's so easy with elementary, because you know, it's a little bit more, everybody's in the same classroom, they're all doing the same thing across all the schools. We get into the high schools and the junior highs, and people come from different places. So this is a place where in the 7th, 8th, even the 6th grade, you know, that a whole other discussion, and 9th grade, if we can bring those students up to speed so that when they do well in their first year of high school, we'll have accomplished a lot. And how do we set up a system to accomplish that?
That's exactly what the literacy part is. That setting that really good foundation is going to help us. I'm stating what was happening now, not that I expect it to stay that way, but rather we're working towards setting a good math foundation so we can get more proficient mathematicians up the levels. Yes, thank you.
Ms. Gaffrey.
Yeah, so my question is, I know we're doing the
secondary scheduling academy right now. Have we talked to them about math specifically? Because do they have any ideas? I know reading the book, they talk about like skinny scheduling and or ways that you can have a modified block schedule where kids who need extra support get a full year of Math 1, but also then are not only, they also get to explore whatever other interests they have.
Yes, with our coaching session with Santa Barbara High School, there has been some questioning and discussion around that, and a lot of challenges related to being able to implement a skinny block. In the end, a lot of it comes down to staffing and having additional staffing to be able to have additional sections for more students to be able to have a year-long course. So that was really our conclusion through that coaching session with Santa Barbara High.
So basically maybe as we think to the future and aspire for what we want to achieve in the future, we need to think about how we would provide more staffing in math. I mean, is that basically a conclusion?
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Banning?
I want to say thank you for the work that's being done on this and acknowledge that the things that we've been talking about with schedule and support for kids in math classes are maybe sitting a little bit on the outside of what this item was supposed to be, because this was about curriculum adoption. And I want to just end up by going back to a couple of things that I think are really important in what you've presented. First of all, I've said from the very beginning as a candidate for a board replacement 2.5 years ago that among the most important things we can do is have coherent systemic implementation of curriculum across the system. And that's happening in a way that I don't recall seeing in the time that I've been in the community. I know that curriculum has been implemented. I know that there have been different adoptions and different things. I know that during Common Core there wasn't good materials available, so we had things like Engage New York and pieces that were kind of all over the place. What I'm seeing now, not only here with math, but also in language arts, is truly exceptional work around curriculum alignment, around systemic implementation with accountability and a strong emphasis on consistent, guaranteed professional development for the teachers that are going to be delivering this. I actually, I'm echoing much of what I've heard from my colleagues here. And you even mentioned this, the challenges of finding the right balance between checkpoints, between benchmarks, between assessments, between standardized tests, between the state tests, the national tests, and all these things, and learning something from all of these different pieces that are measuring slightly different things in slightly different groups of people. And I don't want to leave out the incredibly valuable assessment of what good, well-trained, professionally developed teachers can do about what their students need. And that goes to the implementation of the professional learning communities, of sharing, and all those kind of things that bring pieces together. I'd also like to note that I'm a big fan of the idea of these small tests of change, but I want us to remember that small tests of change inherently slow the process down. I also believe that inherently slowing a process down will make it stick a whole lot more than rushing through. And so I'm impressed with the presentation, not just from you, not just from secondary math, but the emphasis that in the past several years have been about developing this kind of curriculum, alignment, and implementation in every subject, and trying to get us to a point where a student at this school at this grade level is going to get the same kind of thing no matter which school they're at, because the system is aligned and coherent. You mentioned it's a state and national problem. I certainly agree with it. I think the places where we see that it's less of a problem, they've been doing this sooner and been doing it in a different manner. And I'm going to go back to the questions about finding the modified block or whatever we can do to help students in the secondary the very best thing we can do to help students in the secondary is what you said, the foundational work of TKK, first, second, third, fourth grade. If they're succeeding there, that first year of high school, that freshman year success is way, way more likely to be one that they're going to have. So I speak from the heart when I say thank you to you, to the system, to our teachers that are implementing this and doing the hard work of implementing a new curriculum. Because what we're doing now, more than anything I think in the last several years, is moving us in the right direction. And maybe the needle isn't moving fast enough. Maybe it moves up a little bit here and a little down there and that. But unless we're doing this and dedicate ourselves to exactly what's going on here at a deeper, more consistent level, we're not going to see it happen. So thank you to you and everybody else in the system that's doing this great work to help our kids.
I gotta follow that. That's tough. No, well said. I couldn't agree more with Mr. Banning. I want to thank Dr. Wilson, Dr. Brock, Ms. Hollister. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. This is a big lift, and I am impressed. I want to ask one question, though. It's on slide 8. You have a graph here, and it has the question or the statement: the professional development gave me confidence in teaching Amplified Desmos math. And you had 11 teachers that strongly agree, 8 that are not sure, and then it looks like 3 that strongly disagree. And I'm interested to know in that not sure and strongly disagree if we have any feedback on why they felt that way. I imagine implementing a new curriculum, you're not going to start out with the most confidence, but maybe there's some other reasons as well.
Yeah. So I want to share with you that this implementation feedback survey, the results of it, will be going to our junior high math leadership team. And so in that space, we will be sharing the feedback and asking for just conclusions that we can draw from it, even though they may not have rated themselves as not sure or strongly disagree, or wherever they rated themselves, what they're hearing from their colleagues, so that can help us provide the best professional learning for them. One piece of feedback that we have already heard that we're aware of is that we have some teachers already who are experts at the curriculum. And so when they go watch a demonstration lesson or in some of the professional learning, like it's not really fully meeting their needs because they're already at a high level of implementation. And so really it will be around looking at how we can maybe utilize their expertise to provide some of the colleague-to-colleague professional learning, if that's something that the teacher would like to do, or just see how we can better meet their needs because of the level that they're already implementing it at. And those would be several of our teachers who were pilot teachers. So this is, in fact, their second year of implementing the curriculum. And so that's initial feedback that we have, but we will take this survey to the leadership team to see if we can get more information behind some of these responses.
That's quite encouraging. I mean, I've always found like peer-to-peer learning from one another actually sometimes is a more accessible way versus having an instructor come in or someone who is a self-proclaimed or in education, an expert in the curriculum coming in. It can be somewhat intimidating to ask certain types of questions, right? And I find it easier to maybe ask a colleague who might be an expert in their second year. I think that's extremely valuable. And also access. If it's a colleague that you see on a regular basis and having conversations on a regular basis, it's an additional opportunity to ask questions or learn from, or that teacher may see something and provide some insight. So I find that actually pretty encouraging. So with that, are there any other comments from the board? Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate all the work you're doing. Dr. Maldonado?
I do want to take a moment to congratulate Janet Hollister, whose daughter's getting married, and she's here with us tonight, Saturday. Thank you so much for being here, Janet. We really appreciate it. Congratulations.
All right. So that is the end of our report/discussion agenda. We have coming events. which there are lots of open houses, so everyone check their schedules. Yeah, check the VIP calendar for all of the events. And this is the popular K1 future agenda items. And I think we'll start with Dr. Beal.
So I have a very specific request. We've been kind of tiptoeing around this idea, just mentioning it and talking about having community discussions. We are having our board discussion to set goalposts, guidelines, whatever we choose to do during that meeting on May 10th. And my concern is that we have all these ideas, but we need to implement them. And here comes the summer. And so I'm asking very specifically that on April 22nd, we have a board discussion about the potential ad hoc committees that we could form to talk about important district topics. So we heard a lot tonight about the 2-minute rule for our public comment, about being able to have discussions. When I listen to the arts and music discussion, it ranges from scheduling to a 7th period to under enrollment to transfers, really big discussions that actually impact each other. And the difficult thing is, if we could get a place where we're all talking to each other and understanding where things could change and where things might be more difficult to change, then I think we can have more fruitful discussions about how we move forward. So, you know, I think of, I'm going to look at my list, and this is my list, and I think I already start off with, we need an ad hoc committee on literacy, on math, on finance, on arts and music, on technology, and then I have an et cetera list, which probably has a lot of different little things in it. And so the ad hoc committees would be committees of stakeholders, so probably 1 or 2 board members participating, district staff, our union partners, teachers who are vested, who are knowledgeable in the area and how this can fit into the curriculum, community members. And so we just start having these discussions. We talk about what we can do in our district. Ad hoc committees would exist until such time as we've solved the problem, which may be a couple months to a couple years, depends. And it really gives a forum for our community to give us feedback and to have open and honest discussions. Often I can answer questions and letters that are very much like this, I can answer this point, but there's a bigger discussion that needs to be had. So I think that our meetings are long and people are frustrated by how short the public comment is because they don't have a place to talk about things fully and to get an answer right away. And so it's time to do this, and it will be a busy time, and I would like to start the process now, because I think some of these committees really need to form this summer, because we're already talking about next year's budget. And we've already said, how do we prioritize things? And I think we need to have this brass tacks, you know, art and music discussion before we set our budget for the following year. So really to have a board discussion, people can suggest things, but we as board members say, what committees do we think we can start saying we want to have this committee?
So can I, before you go, a little more clarity on, so here's what I heard, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. So April 22nd, you want to have a discussion about ad hoc committees. I heard literacy, math, financial oversight. I heard the arts discussion, which included the discussion about 7th period / intra-district transfers. And you want
Technology too.
Technology.
And we don't set the discussion, we set the committee, the ad hoc committee, and they get to choose. That committee should talk about all of these things. So we're not going to say the arts and music committee is going to talk about X, Y, Z. We're going to say we're going to start an ad hoc committee that can talk about these things and try to bring some ideas or resolution as to what can, what cannot work.
So I'm going to continue to ask questions so that we get very specific about what the request is. In your mind, would these ad hoc committees have a specific goal? So let me give an example. So for let's say the art and music discussion, let's get even a little more specific in the junior high space, because I think we've heard for a number of years now about the junior high space. The if I were going to think of up a goal for the ad hoc committee, because I think each of these ad hoc committees should have a specific goal so that their time would be time definite and there would be a direction for each of these ad hoc committees. If I were going to set a goal, just off the top of my head, this doesn't have to be it, but it would be come back to the board with a report of some sort about what it would take, pros and cons of seventh period versus intra-district transfers, and bring that information to us so that we can have a more robust conversation as a board, but the community is involved in the contents, the conversation leading up to that point. Is that what you're thinking?
Correct. So, the ad hoc committee for arts and music could be a committee that we could say a committee to prioritize the enrichment of arts and music within the school district. And that would involve how do we support schools that have under-enrolled classes. And that's where our community members can hear about our staffing concerns and the cost of that. If we add a seventh period, that does involve our labor partners, correct? There has even been discussion about adding sixth grade to the junior highs. Should that be a small test of change, adding the sixth grade to one or two of our junior highs to boost enrollment, which will also support electives? So these are, in some ways, not simple conversations. So I want an arena for talking about all these things, but ultimately to bring things to the board where we can make decisions. Should we talk about adding sixth grade to our junior highs? Should we add a seventh period? Is that feasible? I'm just really trying to find a place where we can talk about these things freely. People can ask questions, get their questions answered. And when you listen to these discussions, some of the things that are being suggested won't work with other suggestions. And so I think that's where the community really needs to talk to each other and decide what the priority is, right? And then community, with the arts and music, we do have that need for community organizations to step in and say, you know what, we want to continue robust music classes and we have a low enrollment, so maybe we can support for a little while these electives at the schools, because we also have to prioritize our core subjects, right? So we don't have enough money for everything. But I do think we can lean on our community. We hear from our community that they support arts and music. And I would like them to support arts and music, not just with words, but with deeds, right? And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I think we really do need that. And so have the discussion, bring back a robust arts and music plan, and really incorporate a strategic plan for Proposition 28 with the knowledge at the district, how we can do that, what our flexibility and inflexibility, the fact that we can't supplant, we can supplement, which is a really tricky thing to understand. And then, so I think that's that group would have a very wide discussion. When I think of a technology ad hoc committee, maybe the ad hoc committee isn't the right word for it, but we have to talk about our technology plan in this district, not just about banning cell phones, but what are we going to do with AI? How should we manage our IT? Because we call ourselves an educational technology district, but we have to have an IT component. It's just too big. It's too big a part of what's happening in the future with technology. So what direction are we going in with technology, our student use of technology and our district use of technology, using AI to help us with our operations, and how can the students use technology? So I know one of the other communities had like 13 groups when they kind of changed the way their district operates, when they they set goals for their district. And so these committees lasted anywhere from a couple months. Some of them were very specific. One was just on scheduling. And ultimately, they didn't change the schedule because they couldn't find the perfect schedule. So that kind of was self-limited. So you can have very specific committees, or you can maybe have some broader committees, and maybe there'll be smaller committees that come out of that. So how do we have these big discussions and at the same time really bring actionable stuff to the board that everybody feels comfortable that they've talked about?
So before I go to Ms. Caffrey, I'll share a concern that I have. about doing all of these committees all at once and understanding that we'll have to dedicate staff time, our time, that's fine. But we're really talking about resources to each of these efforts. And I think what I would want to hear, and maybe this is kind of something, because I think Ms. Caffrey is probably going to have some proposals as well, is something that I would put back on you two, is agendize it, but then come to the board with specifics about purview, about membership, about what the outcomes would be, what does this look like in practice, and maybe even some ideas about what sort of supports that we would have to provide as a district for these to be successful, because I think I do worry about doing a lot of things not well, and then people getting really frustrated because we provide this avenue or this opportunity that isn't that productive, if that makes sense. And so I'm hoping that we can be really intentional about the opportunities where we do include community and include feedback, because I don't want folks to get cynical or remain, if they're already there, remain cynical about the input that we're getting from them. Because I think that is something that we hear, that sometimes they feel like the input that they provide is not taken into consideration, even if it might be. That's the feeling that they're walking away with, which I think is also an issue that we need to think about.
So what I'm hearing from you is you would like to hear a proposal, and this is something I can potentially work on with Board Member Caffrey, on what we might want to have on the agenda for April 22nd, if I'm going to be specific about the date, and make it lean and accessible so that we don't overextend ourselves. I don't want to necessarily decide on the committees on April 22nd. I want to start to have that discussion. And for me, that dovetails into our May 10th meeting, where we also put that into our discussion, that we are having this discussion about ad hoc committees, which may or may not affect some of the decision making we have on May 10th. It depends on what we land on. And that we just kind of have this organic movement. We're setting our board priorities. We're starting to talk to the community about certain subjects, and we'll have to make decisions as a board in the future. So really, April 22nd is because of the Brown Act, I can't go to everybody and say, what are you interested in? And so really the April 22nd is for everybody to express their opinion as to how they feel about a committee and how important that is.
Yes, and I want to highlight the part about us coming to that meeting with, if we do have an expressed interest in a particular work effort or committee, that we're coming with specifics about what this could look like, and that it's not a very abstract conversation. Ms. Caffrey.
I just want to say thank you to our board president, Escobedo, because I've been on many committees that were a waste of time. So I think it's super important to make sure our committees are impactful. I think that is a really great point. Trustee Beal, so basically I have a fellowship through School Board Partners, and as part of that, they give you access to a policy coach. So perhaps we could work with a coach on at least one committee as a model of what is possible, and then we could extend that to other committees. And it seems like everyone has been talking about a fiscal advisory committee, so maybe we start with that just for a future board meeting, so we can see how do we make this committee actually really tap into the expertise of our community and allow us to have in-depth conversation about these subjects, so the board is really informed going forward. So I'm excited about this plan.
I think having a fiscal advisory committee is actually a great idea, because obviously we talk about finance, and that will inform a lot of our other decisions. So, yeah. So I would say yes to that.
We have the mandate to just talk about committees.
Talk about committees, talk about structure, talk about ideas for new committees. I think one thing that I'll do is I'll send out the current list of committees, because we do have current appointments to committees and to represent on boards and such, and so we have those commitments. These are additional commitments. And I would ask us to look through the list and ask, can we change a current committee so that it's not adding an additional work effort? We might be duplicating efforts, and especially when we're thinking about staff time, which is probably our most valuable resource when we're talking about supporting these committees, that we're not duplicating these efforts. So maybe that we have an audit committee, so maybe the audit committee is also folded into the financial or the finance committee.
That makes a lot of sense.
Any thoughts?
Well, I just want to add, you said it, but I do want to recognize Mr. Cooper's here, and he already runs a tech use committee. We do have an arts steering committee. So I did send the board a couple of weeks ago in your board note that list. So as you're thinking about your work, there's the board committees list, and then there's the district committees list. So I'll make sure to send you both lists so you can see what's already in place as you plan.
The Art Steering Committee, though, doesn't involve the community. And, so exactly. Okay, I see your point.
Yeah, it's adding to an existing list.
Yeah, so again, just trying to, as much as possible, not duplicate our efforts and be really efficient with all of our time, but definitely staff time. So it sounds like April 22nd, we'll have a general discussion item for committees, and all of us will go back and we'll think about committees that we're interested in, but it does sound like Dr. Beal and Ms. Caffrey will come back with something for the discussion item. And I'll follow up with Ms. Munoz to get her ideas as well. Okay, so any other items for this topic? Okay, with that, we have our next Board of Education regular board meeting on Tuesday, April 22nd, as you heard. And we are going to go back to closed session, but open session is done as of 8:38. Thank you, everyone.